will begin when I hit play, which is going to be in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and with that, we are off into Star Harbor, and I believe I want to get started by saying there was an incentive for Pet the Dog. As soon as we find the dog, we shall pet him. He's actually going to be coming to us. The game starts with us immediately getting asked to go to our friend Sizwa here, who is going to ask us to collect some sparklers for the upcoming festival. During that time, we are also going to be collecting money because we need 55 coins to purchase some of the rockets from our friend the shopkeeper, who totally just casually stumbled upon rockets, did not acquire them any other way. Also, our dog friend should be here about now. I'll get to him in a second. We're also going to get introduced to fishing, which is another mechanic in this game. We're only going to see it 2 or 3 times during the any % run. There's our good boy. There's our good boy. I'll pet him again when he's not behind a pillar for you all. Look at that good boy. If you guys would like to see me pet the dog again during the course of this run, I will have another chance to pet him at the very end. Consider getting some donations in for that, and we'll pet him one more time, show him just how good boy he is. Alright, so yeah, we're just gonna run through Star Harbor, collecting some coins. You'll notice I'm rolling everywhere. That's the fastest form of movement. Motherland, I'd like to give you some screen time if you'd like. Is there anything you'd like to talk about or say about Star Harbor during this starting period?
Well, I'm used to see the game with the fast controls and editor, so usually we can blaze through the quests of the game by pressing F3 in the editor to test some things. So seeing you doing the long road, it's quite amusing because I'm not used to see it so often. I used to just blaze through the game when I knew it was not broken. So.
To be fair to you guys, I wouldn't really say this game is broken. This game's actually very solid for the most part. There's very few significant skips in this game at all. So that's a testament to how well you guys designed this game, I would say.
Thank you. So yeah, it was a long road to have a fully functional RPG. And as an indie, it's quite hard to do. It's time consuming. There's a lot of uncertainty with RPGs. So I think it turned out all right.
I would agree. It's how during development, what would you guys say your average playthrough took of this? Because casually, this took quite a long time to get through. And I went for 100% if I could.
Well, I had one 100% run I did it took me, I think, 10 hours to do, and it was knowing everything inside out of the game, so where every item was, where every creature was, where every thought was, because I mostly placed them with my coworkers, so I know them all.
Dang.
So it's 10 hours for the 100%, so knowing you have an 90% run in about 3 hours, for me it's quite impressive already.
Thank you. No one's done a 100% run if you'd like to consider being the first.
Yeah, I could do it.
It would be awesome to see that. So we got introduced to the Leviathan there. He's the main antagonist of this run. We're also getting introduced to Giro and Friendship. They'll pretty much be the main characters throughout the course of this run. You'll notice that when I collected Giro, I got a token thing. The token tells me a number of different colors. That's essentially how combat is going to function in this game, is you will throw tokens with colors on them in order to deal, or you guys probably don't refer to it as damage internally. Do you have a word for what the recoloring process would be? I noticed that you purposely avoid a lot of terms. You call them confrontations instead of battles and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. But I would say the term we use is just recoloring in general. We don't refer to it as damage per se. Uh, but it's up to the player still. I think it's better to use a term like recoloring because it's actually what you're doing, since recoloring the creatures recolors the creature in game. So
Yep. So, basically, the rough story of this game is, we set off these fireworks in Star Harbor, and the Leviathan is now very annoyed with us for waking him from his sleep. And out of revenge, he has taken all of the colors, and with that, some of the happiness from the world. And Billy, being the strong individual that he is, has retained his color and escaped from the Leviathan, and is going across the lands to meet a bunch of friends and recolor them all, adding joy and happiness back in. So each of our friends here has a very significant story around them. This is Deedledee, who's going to be a pretty important character. Deedledee is just alone, and when he lost all of his color, he feels like everyone is just making fun of him. No one actually really wants to be his friend. And we're here to tell him, no, that's not true, Deedledee. We care about you just as much as anyone else should, and we want to be your friend. And that's basically what the whole game of Billy is gonna be like, is just be friends with everyone, because everyone has problems, and we can all work together on getting through that. And I would say that's probably the main message you guys wanted to get across, right? Because I would say this is a very friendly, oriented game.
yeah, it's about having a good time, you know. It's,
yeah.
Not all games need to be violent. Not all games need to have combat. There's still very interesting mechanics we offer, and being non-violent was kind of a goal. I see we have a certain someone joining us right now.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Hi, it's RTG. I'm John. I'm the lead writer on Rainbow Billy, and you basically summed it up perfectly, yeah.
Pleasure to see you here. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here as well. Welcome.
That's a pleasure, too. It's I'm amazed you kept up with all that dialogue at the speed you're going.
It's probably, I'm going to be honest, it's probably going to slow down during some of the combats. I shared at the start the spreadsheet that I'm using. So if you start hearing me shout nonsense like purple, purple, pink, pink, blue, blue, yellow, yellow, it's me focusing on making sure I throw combat or colors out correctly.
I'm here to be amazed and answer questions.
So we're gonna do our first teeny skip. We're gonna jump on that post instead of activating the flower like we're supposed to get up here.
The classic.
Oh, I don't know how many of those guys you found in development, but yeah, a lot of there's gonna be a lot of little teeny tiny jumps and stuff like that for platforming. That's one of the reasons I compare this game quite heavily to Paper Mario as a game, because even though I've never played it, the movement, the jumping, it all feels heavily like that. Were you guys inspired by Paper Mario? Did you model off of that at all?
Definitely, even in terms of the writing, actually, just because, like, the way the font works, the way some of the cheeky, family-friendly humor was a big deal, but I seem to recall for a lot of the, just the way the depth was installed with some of the level design, Felix might be able to answer you that a little more, but, was definitely had some inspirations from Paper Mario on that front, just for the whole 2.5D aspect.
Yeah, I can really feel it. Sorry?
Usually we say we have the exploration aspect of Zelda Wind Waker, the creature collection aspect of Pokemon, and the art style of the early 1930s. Although that went kind of out the window with the refactor of the visuals at some point. So I'd say Paper Mario is a super good reference for the movement, as you say. Using a 2D character in a 3D environment has issues, usually, with the cameras, with how the player moves around the level. So it was a fun puzzle to solve for us as level designers. It was really fun to make levels, to create enjoyable puzzles.
Yeah, I've enjoyed just about every aspect of this game. I mean, with every game, there's going to be a few things you don't, but for the most part, this game has been incredibly fun. Right there, I actually did a small skip. Fernie is supposed to talk to you, but instead, I hopped around the trigger box to save a couple seconds and avoid having to talk to Fernie. So just a small little skip there. Not too big, because he only says like 2 or 3 text boxes, but it's the small things that count. In a long run like this, every second we can save really is gonna add up here. So if I've not really gone into any depth in confrontations yet, every confrontation at this point has a lot of pretty much, I need to be real focused on which colors I throw and when I throw them, because Vru here needs 2 oranges and 2 reds. The most optimal way to do that, based on the current friends I have, you'll notice I'm drawing 3 tokens at a time, is a red and an orange each turn. But I don't want to throw Deedledee on the second turn, because Deedledee, when you unlock a second color, he has a special ability. Any friend who gets 2 colors gets that. I upgraded him earlier, and his special ability recovers health. Every time I throw that, it loses me about 2.5 seconds. So unless I really need health, I want to avoid summoning Deedledee. That little lag frame there was the PS4 loading. I'm on an OG PS4. Alright, so this is some ice cream. It is very, very important that I grab that ice cream, or this run is in a very bad place. I need that. So I'm glad we got that first try, because fishing spots are... some aspects of fishing is RNG, some is not. But the important thing is that that fishing spot will move if I mess up, and it will move to a plot space that I cannot get. So we're gonna do another small skip here to get on top of this. And we are going to get across this island and continue on up to Glower, the next friend. All the while, I am collecting money because I will be going to the shop again. I'm going to need to spend some coins for a upgrade for later. All of the gifts and coins and fish and stuff you see me collecting is going to be for upgrades along the way, because I really don't want to fish any more than I have to. Fishing is quite slow, to be honest. So this is our first real show of randomness. It's possible that we flip up friends who do not have the colors we need. Thankfully, we got a really good Glower opening phase. This is also the first fight that introduces these blocking obstacles. Each row you see here is blocked by the obstacle in front of it. With rare exceptions, that is the general rule of confrontations. So I have to get through at least one of these before I could get to the friend Glower directly. So we got a really good hand and we're able to take that out. And now we're gonna move on to Glower, who is a red, 2 oranges, and a pink. But I don't have a pink in my hand. So this is also going to introduce us to another mechanic where the dialogue choices you choose will determine what colors get revealed and whether you get tokens given to you or not. So Glower was nice enough to give us a pink. So I'm going to throw that pink token on the same squares I'm going to throw a red token to do some damage here. Now, Glower doesn't need this Vermilion that I got in my hand. So mini games... There's a lot of depth to mini games, but essentially what you need to know is some mini games are faster to fail, some mini games are faster to win. If you don't need to win a mini game, it's better not to win it because you'll lose time. watching the animation of the colors fly over, but it's very minor time loss, and if I accidentally do complete a mini game, it's whatever. I'm not concerned about that. The complete RNG of this run from this point on is gonna be really where things start to get quite crazy. So yeah, I did a lot of talking there. Anything you guys would like to jump in on here?
I'm just impressed by your process. This is so cool to see live.
I'm gonna, yeah, I tried doing a practice commentary while trying to do some of these combats, and I was like, oh my lord, how am I gonna be able to do this? So I'm actually super happy that if, like, I have you guys here, I'm like, alright, I need to focus here, because, we're gonna grab a quick thought, by the way. Thoughts are these mini collectibles here. We're grabbing them for later. I'll explain what they're useful then, unless one of you would like to. That's perfectly acceptable to me. And we're gonna take a quick visit to the shop in order to spend some of our coins on... We're going to specifically buy 4 yellow angelfish. That's gonna be for a friend later. Or that we're going to upgrade later. And now you'll notice the boat runs on rainbow fuel, which is eco-friendly, I would like to emphasize, as the game does. Rainbow
the
fuel...
diary entries.
Rainbow fuel runs out over time during or when you're traveling on uncolored or non, I guess, rainbow-fied water. You do gain more over time, but it was basically the devs' way of preventing you from reaching islands earlier than you're meant to, which it kind of worked. There's a few islands you can still reach definitely earlier than intended, but it's fine. For the sake of this speed run, there's nothing too funky there. So this is...
I wonder...
Go on.
There's some creatures you can just skip to reach the 90% route. Do you take some creatures that are considered side creatures to the end of the game, or you just take the intended route and no side creature, no side thoughts?
Yes.
No side island?
So I do definitely get a couple side thoughts. But when it comes to creatures, I prioritized only taking the mandatory ones and then seeing what colors I could upgrade them with in terms of gifts. Sorry, one sec. Red, orange, 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 pink. Okay. So we're gonna throw that there, and that there. I prioritized only taking friends that were directly in the route because every additional combat is really time consuming, so I did not want to fight anyone I didn't have to. It was faster to go out of my way to get gifts to upgrade friends than it was to get new friends for the sake of a single color. And you're gonna see that in Bright Frost. I'm going to get a gift for a friend to upgrade him, even though that seems like it was out of the way, like going to that shop, for instance, for those angelfish. The way colors are distributed, for the most part, is pretty good. I did a reroute of this recently to make sure that I had the colors I would need. A quick thing about Alpha Roar, you guys will notice, Alpha Roar has this special ability where the top row or whatever row is the most threatening to him, he will always dispel off. So I have to very specifically balance how I approach this fight to make sure that I do not throw 2 tokens in the same row, and whatever I throw in the top row is never a valuable token to me. So Alpha always takes a minimum of 3 turns to defeat. So this last turn, all I need to do is throw 1 more orange and I will be through with him. He also introduces the end turn mechanic, so I can end my turn by pushing the touchpad, so I don't lose time throwing out a token that I don't need to. Technically, you get introduced to the end turn mechanic slightly earlier than this, but the friend that introduces that is completely optional and we're not gonna I thought combats would be where I'm most focused, but I think I'm just nonstop talking during combats.
It's all good. It seems like that spreadsheet really pays off too.
Oh yeah. I have
Actually,
go on.
I actually do have a question, just because narrative is sometimes like one of the biggest obstacles to like effective speedrunning. Sometimes, whenever there's like unskippable cutscenes or like unskippable dialogues like that, I was wondering like, what tends to be your biggest bugbear when it comes to that during a speedrun? Because I'm seeing you like blaze through this narrative-heavy RPG like it's nothing right now, and I'm pretty impressed.
The two big concerns are that the fastest way to get through the narrative element is to alternate tapping X and circle on the DualShock 4 controller, which is what I'm playing this on, which mashing is usually not very fun for most gamers, and it's not very good for your hands. So one of the feedbacks I provided when I was approached by another member of the development team, I believe Alexis, at least they're in the Discord as a moderator, I mentioned that I didn't really like doing the mashing. Also, we're gonna do a small skip here to get on top of this earlier than intended. The other one is pushing circle to mash when you're in friendship on the water. It's very easy to accidentally go into friendship. Also, shoutouts to invisible geometry. We're just gonna jump on that. I think that's the only invisible wall we really abuse in the any percent run.
Yeah, this wall is supposed that we had a problem where you could get onto the bone from the left side, so we kind of put weird colliders this way to avoid skipping. But I see you can just jump on the skull and get all the way back. So
Yeah,
it's really funny to see.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger ones, I'd say. You can just jump straight up and go around that way. Okay, so Booster, Fernie is going to insist on trying to talk to... hold on, do I need orange? Red, orange, and pink? Yeah, I need all of these. Fernie is going to try to insist on talking to Booster, and this is the one time that I'm going to suggest a smidge of violence, and we tell Fernie no. No, Fernie, no. Fernie is... a very opinionated individual about why he is superior to you, and Booster's essentially intimidated by people who think they're stronger than him. So if we let Fernie talk, he's just gonna make Booster mad, and we really, really want to tell him no, because this element this confrontation introduces talk mechanics, and talk mechanics here are useful. Talk mechanics are something that you must complete in order to successfully defeat any fight. So if we don't tell Fernie no, then we have to start picking dialogue options, which are unfortunately random until we get the one where we can talk to him. Now, you'll notice this is a 3-turn booster. Optimally, we would have wanted to do booster in 2 turns, but I did not get a pink in my hand on the first round, or on the second round. And because of that, I now had to do a card shuffle, or token shuffle. What do you guys, I don't know what you refer to these internally as, but I call them tokens out of game, or for me. But yeah, I had to do a token shuffle to get the pink, which unfortunately, because I only have 3 turns, ended my my round there. But yeah, what are they called by you guys? Because I call them tokens.
It's funny because I don't know if any 90s kids are in the chat, but in the 90s there was things called pugs. It's kind of tokens, and you stack them up and you can play and trade them with different IPs and everything.
Pogs?
So we usually call them pugs or creature token usually.
Yeah,
But
I got that.
we couldn't really get away with Pogs because, you know.
yeah. And they're not.
I also liked your very diplomatic take on Fernie's character there. That was A+.
I wanted to be respectful of him. Yeah,
Clearly a man who's played the game.
Fernie is a character. That is a good way to describe him. So we got a new ability there. We got the dig power up. we're gonna specifically put friendship on this side. We got the dig power up there, which lets us dig these small sand piles. Otherwise, Rodrigo, who is the hand pole, I think he insists on clarifying that's what he is. Otherwise, he's like, are you kidding me? I'm not eating dirt. So now that we have that ability, he suddenly is willing to eat dirt for the sake of Billy's adventure. So, the whole point of this was we need to collect these idols of power. It turns out there's actually 2 idols of power. And Lavarilla here, who's the guy on the left, is basically sitting here going, ha, if I couldn't collect the idols of power, you sure can. What? How did you get an idol of power so quickly? I can't believe you. Totally not foreshadowing anything there. Don't worry about it. It's fine. We're gonna move over here to do a quick mini puzzle. To be honest, I haven't actually timed this faster, but, you know, it's a nice little showcase of the mechanics of the game. The solution to that is showcased somewhere else, but we're gonna do that so that our return trip is just a little faster. Now, here's the first point in the game where I could get a soft lock, so I'm gonna be very careful not to mash into this friend too quickly, or the entire game will potentially soft lock, which will lose me about 2.5 minutes. We'll know once we start talking and do combat once we're soft locked. Alright, we are not soft locked. Woo! So, Bubor, who is red, vermilion, and orange, takes a couple special mechanics to get through. You'll notice he has 2 talks, and the thing about him being 2 talks, I should have thrown that in the first row. He's actually unique in that the 2 talks he requires are from a couple very specific friends. Now, there are 3 friends that can satisfy this condition that you can have collected at this point. I only have 2 of them. One of them does not provide a useful color. As such, I have to essentially I have to lose not so much a yeah, I think they're called turns. I have to lose a turn throwing this friend in order to successfully do this fight. But as long as I get through this fight in 2 rounds, I'll be perfectly happy. 2 rounds is the minimum it takes to successfully do Bubor, and I have successfully done that. Again, I don't want to mash because you could accidentally soft lock on Bubor. The cool thing about combats is that they end the moment the final damage has been dealt, or the final color has been dealt. So, despite me having an entire another row of friends, it is irrelevant. The combat is over, and we are out of Bubor. You'll notice I got a thought for that. Any combat that has a thought in it, who is what a thought's colors are completely random, will also reward 1 thought for your as a reward. In that fight, we wanted to avoid the thought while thoughts attacking lose time. Because you defeat Bubor in only 1 or 2 turns, the thought can only attack once, which is faster, so it's faster to just let the thought attack than it is to worry about taking the thought out. And with that, we have unlocked a section that was required. Bubor was where the 2nd idol of power is, and we're gonna head over to Gororo's island. Now this probably is my least favorite mechanic in the entire game. I actually found a new skip yesterday for this, and we're going to see if I could get it or not. Well, all right, that counts. I got it. Let's go. So by standing on the edge, Gororo's shadow will actually, and then I lost it by getting hit there. Gororo's shadow will actually not be able to touch you. But unfortunately, because I fell in the water, my cycle was all messed up there, so it didn't really work. But you can successfully hop around Gororo's shadow. I've not been succeeding on that very much here, but, you know, it happens sometimes. We'll blame marathon luck for that one.
I see we have a new a new dev on the call. There's Tiffany here.
Oh.
Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hello, hello.
Yeah, thanks. This is so fun to watch. Yeah, it's really interesting to watch you come up with, like the trying to jump around the Guerrero shadows and everything else. Usually, the game was intended for you to just have to wait patiently. So I haven't watched a lot of speedrunners get through it. This is so much fun.
Yeah, the shadow hitbox is very large, so as you saw it quite a few times, it's just a suggestion sometimes whether you could get around him, but it is quite fun to try to avoid him, because if you are going to get hit, it's pretty much the same amount of time. It's definitely worth the try to get around him, but yeah, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to be here. Super glad you're here, and I'm Sarge, and I'm running Billy, obviously. It's awesome to see you guys here.
It's awesome to watch you play, Sarge. I'm Tiff. I was one of the artists on the team, so I haven't play tested the game nearly enough to say anything about, mechanics and stuff like that. Like I've played the game obviously somewhat, but like there's little intricacies about things about like mechanics and stuff like that, little tips and tricks that I do not have. But if you ever have any questions or comments on either the storyline or the characters or stuff like that, I'm here for it. I was mostly the 2D artist, so I did most of the creatures and the UI and stuff like that.
Yeah, I will say I really like the art on this game, so great job there.
Well, thank you so much.
Red, orange, pink, pink, purple. Okay, red. So a couple mechanics here. Red, orange, pink, pink, purple. Okay, I gotta figure stuff out here, sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, so I've already told the other devs about this. If you hear me start randomly shouting colors, I have a giant spreadsheet of notes here that I'm constantly referring to. I'm not crazy. I just need to know these notes to get through the game.
Yeah, you gotta go fast.
So Guerrero has this really fun mechanic of I'm going to steal one of your tokens, as far as I could tell, at random. The one he takes could be beneficial to me or it could be irrelevant to me. Right there, he took one that didn't matter. This is going to be a 2-turn Guerrero, assuming I don't mess Booster up. Booster is one of the scariest friends in the game because if you mess Booster up, you instantly lose 1/2 of your entire damage spectrum, which is very scary if you're trying to go fast. But thankfully, 2-turn Guerrero, that was a very good Guerrero. He did not steal any tokens that were of value to me there, and we got through him nice. Oh yeah, so you guys as devs and host, pretty much this is a long run. If you guys ever have any questions, comments, if you'd ever like to just add anything, feel free to just say, hey, I'd like to jump in. I'm completely okay with anything you guys would like to add at all.
Good to know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm mainly just kind of mesmerized by seeing someone like blaze through this.
Yeah.
So, so far it's been what, 33 minutes according to your timer?
Yes.
That is good time.
Yeah, I was so far. To explain to the devs who could see my live split, the red number means that I'm technically behind my best, but I'm only a minute and 30 seconds behind best, which is really, really good. Or not best, PB, which is really good considering the amount of sheer randomness I'm sure all of you could speak to this game having.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive because I know that this game can do a lot, can throw a lot of curveballs at you. So I think it's probably a bit of a hard game to speedrun in like the most optimized way.
Absolutely, yes. I think my current possible best time is 2 hours and 50 minutes, and my PB is 3 hours. So right there, that's 10 minutes basically lost to execution and RNG. Red, 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 vermilion, pink, pink, purple, purple. He doesn't have orange, but he does have vermilion. Lavarilla is our first really, really big guy. He has a lot of colors on him.
Oh yeah.
So specifically, Lavarilla has a lot of purples that need thrown, and I only have one purple friend at this point, so it's very, very important that I make sure to get purples out. I apologize if you guys can hear that. My phone is going
No,
off.
it's all good.
All right.
But yeah, Lavarilla is a bit of a challenge. Kind of the mini boss of the island, I think.
Yes, I would agree. He definitely comes off as a mini boss, but he's a worthwhile challenge. I enjoy fighting him. I have a question from chat. Have the devs, any of you guys here, ever seen a full speedrun of the game?
Never actually. I've watched a few like clips of people doing some like stuff on streams or on YouTube videos, but I've never seen like a full speed run. And you saying this will be done in like 3-ish hours is like, okay, I'm just waiting to see what shenanigans will happen here.
The hope is 3-ish hours. We'll see though. Depending on late game RNG, if any of you are in the Rainbow Billy community Discord, you'll notice that I'm very active in the feedback channel, talking about a lot of the stuff I find.
That's perfect though. Like a lot of us don't know much about like speedrunning, and some of that stuff was a little bit of like a let's guess what seems to make sense, but it's not always the best judgment. So like stuff like that is always super useful just for like, okay, understanding what this works for future projects. So like, we're kind of glad you voiced that, if anything.
Yeah, like I guess I'm very excited. I believe you guys have an update for this game planned in the future. You announced it on the Kickstarter page, I think, if I'm not wrong. I'm very excited to see what comes out in that update in terms of both bug fixes and content.
Yeah, I think we should have a few bug fixes, a few new optional creature dialogues, and some new thoughts you can collect for some extra power-ups. I think there's even a jukebox planned, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, John making the reveals. But yeah, there's a couple of little feature details like that, and it's mostly bug fixes, stuff like that. So
I heard from Alexis that one of the biggest unintentional skips, which is Kabushi skip, which we'll get to later in the run, you guys have decided it potentially might actually be left in the game, which as a speedrunner for this game, I can tell you I'm very happy that you are not forcing us to fight Kabushi.
Actually, Kabushi is one of my nemesis in the game. Every time I fight him, I don't know if it's him or...
It's him.
It's him. Alright. So I usually always struggle with good RNG, bad RNG. I always lose to Justice.
Yeah, and the fact that he has a thought with him makes that fight even more challenging. Plus, he has the same scare mechanic as Alpha Roar, which makes that fight even more tedious to get through. So right here, where those thoughts we've been collecting, what they do is we can turn them in to essentially gain upgrades for Billy. So you'll notice there that I got a upgrade to fishing space, a filter, which the filter is not relevant to this speedrun, and I got a +1 token draw. So I now draw 4 tokens. That 4th token draw was able to change getting out of Dino Land from about an hour and 5 minutes to about 50 minutes. Just getting that 1 extra token per hand completely just changed the entire course of the route, which is why we take the level up there. And the goal is to minimize, as you guys can see on an OG PS4, these loads are probably quite long compared to, I would imagine most of you guys did your dev work on PC. So I have to basically minimize the amount of visits that I take to Friendship. So what we do is we turn the thoughts in, and we level 2 friends up for additional colors that we are going to be low on during the course of the run, and that is going to allow us some significant leeway on the upcoming battles. Also, these are some nice little, I don't know what these types of puzzles are called, but they're just some like ball and peg puzzles, and you just memorize the solution. Thankfully, all the puzzles in this game are completely fixed. Once you know the solution once, it's the same every time, but you still have to execute correctly. Also, fun fact, that sand pile there I just ran past is actually glitched. It rewards a party popper, but, ooh, that's unfortunate. It rewards a party popper, but the party popper doesn't actually count towards any inventory collection purposes because you only need 4 party poppers, and that is the 5th party popper in the game. So I don't know what the plans for that are, but yeah, right now it gives you a party popper that doesn't count. Just a fun little fact I learned while trying to find the 100% for this game.
Wow. All right.
Yep.
We'll try to jam a fix in the upcoming bug fixes, I guess.
I would say most players probably wouldn't even notice that party popper doesn't actually give you any credit. Since I believe one party popper is a dig spot on Guerrero's Island, and the rest of the party poppers, one is in a fortune cookie at the end of the game, and the rest are in fishing spots. So you probably wouldn't even notice that. But yeah, just fun facts.
I can guarantee you devs did not notice it either, so good eye.
Yeah, we have a chat open with our coworkers watching the stream, and we're having devs just saying, "Oops,
oops." Hey, you know,
how did that get
considering the amount of "this is amazing, how did you do this in this game?" completely understandable that it had just oops.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, good luck versus Dragoland now.
Thank you.
I have a fun trivia about Dragoland in this part of the fight. So, Tiffany, you did the art for Dragoland, I believe. And,
yeah.
You can just confirm, Dragoland has no body
left arm
and down in this sprite, right?
Absolutely.
So we kind of had to place a big rock in front so people don't get scared by Dragoland having a missing part of his body. So
yeah.
It's
there was
fixed in the second part.
Yes. Well, I mean, okay, the entire Dragonland was drawn, but we had plans originally that before we came up with the confrontation box, we weren't sure where to put the boss fights. So in the context of Dragonland, we were thinking of just fighting Dragonland directly within that cave where you first meet him. And there was going to be just sort of like he bursts through a hole in the wall and he's just kind of sticking most of his body through and attacking you that way. So the entire animation clip was basically just built to be Dragonland's torso and arm. So if anybody were to actually go take a look at those assets and find some way to remove those rocks, if you dig deep, you can absolutely see that in this first phase, Dragonland has no left arm or legs here. So that's kind of tragic. But I think they did a pretty good job at covering it up.
I never even thought about why the rock was there, and you putting it that way, it makes so much sense. That's hilarious. Thank you for that.
Oh yeah, we're covering up our mistakes.
There
Found a lot of quick, efficient fixes here, but if you didn't notice it, that means it works, so it
Absolutely.
works.
Yep. So to quickly explain the concept of Dragonlance 1, Dragonlance is completely immune to damage. Oops, I just shuffled the red in. Dragonlance is completely immune to any damage or colors. I mean, he can be colored, but he'll just laugh it off. But his marshmallow minions are the main ways to do damage to him during this first phase. So we need to successfully recolor 5 of his minions in order to get him to essentially go, oh crap, you've activated the volcano. All right, buddy, let's actually fight. So now that he's not on the ground, I can do damage, or I could color him. But he has summoned a giant army of marshmallows here that I have to get through. So the strat of Dragonlance is essentially focus on 2 marshmallows and focus on always have only 1 marshmallow on the screen. If there are 2 marshmallows, you need to prioritize taking out marshmallows. every other turn, Dragulon is going to summon new marshmallows to replace the ones on screen. And as you can see, I cannot do any damage to Dragulon while there are marshmallows in front of him. So I effectively have to manage the marshmallows while also managing Dragulon. Thankfully, the way bosses in this game work is they are 3 of each of the 5 colors that have ever been introduced in a zone. So Dragulon is 3 reds, 3 oranges, 3 vermilions, 3 purples. Also, that was a really nice mini game. And 3 pinks. So I don't need to memorize what he has. I just need to make sure that I am constantly putting pressure on Dragulon. Every turn that I lose pressure on Dragulon or lose pressure on a marshmallow is potential for about 25 seconds of time loss, as I have to essentially sit through an entire another turn. So yeah, the other thing is I'm pretty much trying to throw mini games that I enjoy playing or that I don't find too hard. Aegon's is a nice mini game because it's just push the X button 4 times in a row. Mini games actually have quite a lot of depth to them. They're representative of the friend. They're each, even though there's only 5 different kinds of mini games, each one is different with respect to each friend. So different slots are different, different styles, different circles are different. I'm going to be specifically prioritizing and avoiding certain friends, but for the most part, it's just gonna be hoping I get optimal RNG and throwing out certain things. I'm gonna throw Gororo there because his special ability lets me throw whatever I want at no cost. Sorry, when I lead with Gororo, it does not cost me a turn to throw him. Now, I don't like playing Gororo's minigame, but not costing a token to play him, especially during boss fights, is very valuable. So I'm going to take advantage of that for extra damage on this boss. Now, I ended my turn there because there's only 1 marshmallow on the screen. Ah, that's unfortunate. There's only 1 marshmallow on the screen now that I took 1 out, and I can only put 3 friends in a row and max. So I'm not too fussed about somehow managing to deal extra damage to Dragulon that turn. But yeah, a lot of this is just going to come down to optimal management of the tokens you've been given here. You'll also notice that a fireball is coming out. That fireball is me being set on fire. All on fire does is it causes me to take additional damage when that token is played. Sorry, I'm focusing here on colors. I want to try to get an orange here. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna throw Deedledee out for health and take out the marshmallow. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. Did you guys like to add anything during this fight?
No, I mean, like, you're doing a really good job at describing all the mechanics. Were there any mechanics here that weren't mentioned, guys?
I don't think he's kind of covered it all. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess in that case, during this fight, if the host would like to announce anything, now's a pretty good time while I play through the rest of this fight.
Absolutely. Remember guys, we're not only here to watch this wonderful run and hear this wonderful commentary, we're also here to collect some money through your donations for Child's Play. And we are actually looking for some more donations toward our Pet the Dog Again incentive, which we will do at the end of this very run if we just can push our donation incentive for another about $150. So if you want Sergeant Silent to pet the dog at the end of the game, absolutely get your donations in. You have about a little more than 2 more hours to do so, so I think we can definitely go ahead and reach that goal.
Yeah, I think that'll be pretty cool if we could pet the dog one more time. We're given a second chance if you guys weren't here for the start. Get those donations in, and we'll get 1 more pet of that good boy. I actually asked, did you guys have a name for the dog? I asked Erwin, and he said, I'm not quite certain. Let me ask. I believe it was you, Mr. Rumsby? You're the one who would possibly know the dog's name if you had one.
Yeah, honestly, I think that is the one character in the game we never gave a name for, and now I'm starting to feel guilty because it's such a cute dog.
No, wait a second. Wait a second. The dog,
Wait?
I believe, does have a name. I just asked the dev
Really?
chat. I'm just forgetting what the name is.
Oh, wow. Oh my god, I didn't even know we had a name for it.
Now, someone in chat earlier said Pet Brownie, but I'm not sure if they're a member of the dev team or if that's even a canon name. But I mean, as far as I'm willing to name him Brownie, it seems like a fine name to me. But I will gladly
name.
call him his canonical name.
As soon as I get an answer, I'll let you know.
Can't believe I didn't know this, oh my god.
The mayor's dog, no!
Yeah, my life is different now, this is amazing.
John, wow.
So we successfully defeat Dragulon, and Dragulon has a change of heart and realizes, oh no, this kid, he's helped me find that I don't have to be alone. I can use others to get through my hardships. But this volcano is about to explode, and Billy is, I'm not sure how old he is. I think he's like 10, maybe 12. Actually, he's androgynous, so I don't even know if that's appropriate, but, Billy is essentially in danger here, and Dragulon essentially says, let me save you, pushes him off the top of the volcano, and with that, Billy successfully escapes the magma flow. We get down the volcano, and a path is opened to the next area of the world. And with that, Dragulon is now our friend.
Just rolled the game under an hour. Nice.
Oh. And that was getting out under an hour, and we lost quite a lot of time to that Dragulon 2 fight. So
It's yeah, it's a bit of a challenging boss fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't even imagine trying to speed run through it.
I'm gonna be completely honest. RNG speedruns are it's a mindset, it's a mentality. You have to be prepared that basically you're never going to get a good time because the game is always going to decide that you're just not getting a good time this run. So right there was our first case of I might accidentally mash into the boat. I've started working on a specific mashing technique to not end up in there, but if I do accidentally enter the boat, there might be a, donation coming your way for that. So in this little hallway, what we're going to do is we're actually going to specifically fill friendship up. We're going to take advantage of a Paper Mario-esque mechanic. The game doesn't register your position as safe as long as you continue jumping. That is going to let us respawn back at the start of this island, take a small death abuse while we are collecting that gift, which is going to respawn us back, canceling some of the animation. Then we're gonna respawn in Friendship, who is perfectly positioned to instantly be removed and replaced, and that is going to let us complete the entire tunnel in just only the left side as quickly as possible. And that is probably one of the most optimal bits of
so
movement
powerful.
in the run.
That was big brain. Okay. All right.
It's so
Also-
much fun watching someone speedrun this.
Yeah.
So we
I
have,
have a. Go ahead, Fiddick. Sorry.
we have someone in our team who proposed to call the dog Sergeant. I don't know if you're open to that.
I'm absolutely okay with that. Yes, that's great.
I think the name looks good on him.
Here comes the cannon. It's kind of fitting with the hat and everything.
I appreciate
Go
that.
really fast if you jumped a little too far. Let's go for it.
I consider that an honor. Thank you so much. Whether that sticks or not is fine by me. That's a great name. So, here we get introduced to a new puzzle type. This is snowballs. Snowballs are basically another variation on the push puzzle that we had earlier, but they're used for platforms in addition. So we're gonna go out of our way just a tad, grab that thought, grab this paper heart, all while doing the snowball puzzle and getting up top to break this ice. Finding a way past that ice wall would be great, but without something like Billy Copter, which is an ability we get later, currently we have to walk all the way up here, and because you'll notice earlier in the game I did fast traveling. I don't actually have a fast travel point in Fright Frost yet, which means that I am forced to walk all the way back to Friendship. Also, I think I got a bug I'd like to show off here. Nah, I lost it. I had fish storage, which if I get again, I will show you guys. But basically, you can store the triangle button prompt, so I can start fishing literally anywhere on the map. I had it there, didn't realize it. I missed showing you guys that. I apologize for that. But just know that while I was collecting that thought, I could have started fishing.
Oh, noted.
Alright, so, Flapjack, Flapjack is a pretty simple friend. The fastest way to get through Flapjack is to do him in one turn, which unfortunately we did not get because the RNG didn't quite work out in my favor. He takes, 2 purples and 2 pinks to get through, and a talk, but the talk is always, I believe it's always guaranteed to be the second one. If you have a certain friend in your party, that kind of changes things, but in this category, we don't have to worry about that friend. The nice thing about Flapjack is you can just literally push the X button on a DualShock 4 to get through this combat, with the exception of minigames and throwing tokens. So certain friends are pretty mindless when it comes to combat. You just sit here and push the X button. It works the exact same way for Deedle-D in the first world. And with that, we get Flapjack, which is a very nice introduction. Because we're in a different zone here, the colors have changed from red, orange, vermilion, pink, and purple to blue, violet, purple, pink, and... Actually, I think it's just blue, violet, purple, and pink in this
there's some
area.
green too.
Bit of green. Well, so far in part 1 of
Yeah, part 1.
Frost Mountain. What did we call it again? Fright Frost.
Frost.
Yeah. So in Fright Frost, it's mostly in the blues and purples, and then it'll transition more into the greens a bit later into the level. Yeah.
So another quick thing we're going to do is those yellow fish we bought, we're going to, feed them to Giro, and that's to skip a extra dialogue box after giving him the second gift, because you get kicked out of a friend after giving them a gift. So if we do the fish before the gift, we can actually feed Giro all in one sitting instead of having to get kicked out and re-enter to do more dialogue. So that's just a teeny optimization. So we're gonna give Giro that ice cream and a doll and those fish. Then we're gonna do Flapjack, and what we're going to do after we do Flapjack is, while we're getting the friendship token, we're actually going to fast travel out. The boat was right there, so we lost basically no time getting warped back there. Now we have 2 upgraded friends, we saved 2 load screens, and we're immediately heading on to Barks Island. So this was actually routed in yesterday, new route. I'm now going to pick this thought up, which is the second thought that's slightly out of the way. Shout out to a certain other, pipe-loving platformer. I believe the trophy directly references that as well.
Sure does.
And that would be me too, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was absolutely Phoenix's idea.
So, fun fact, this island is actually one of the first one I designed from the ground up when I arrived on the Rainbow Billy in January of 2020. So it holds a special place in my heart. And yeah, it went through a long process of development.
I'd like to quickly apologize for what I might do. We just got Billy Float there. That was fun.
Yes.
There we go. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Just wanted to point out that little Billy Float mechanic there.
Also, if at some point in the run you have some time, I have some fun bugs or glitches we had during development, which we chose to remove because they were too ubiquitous, too good, too broken. So if at some point you wish me to explain some of those bugs, we chose to remove, and some of those we also chose to keep in. feel free if you have some time in the run.
Oh, this is a long run. If there's ever a point where you're like, hey, I'd like to talk about this thing that happened, just feel free to, go on about it. I would absolutely not mind at all. Alright, so you'll notice that we're currently fighting Alpha Roar here. Bark is Alpha Roar's younger brother, and what ended up happening here was essentially Bark, because he is in this state of darkness, unlike the last area where everyone was essentially worried that they weren't strong enough and that was causing the darkness to consume them. I might get a little Kingdom Heartsy in terms of terminology here, but it's essentially the same philosophy. This area, there is a song from the sea goddess Calypso, or I guess she's more of a musician in this one than a sea goddess, but and that song is causing the despair that lies deep in everyone's hearts to surface. And that has caused Bark to feel basically inferior and a burden to his brother, and his brother basically becomes consumed by this, and it converts Alpha Roar back over to his side, and we can't. This is one of the few fights where it doesn't matter which row we throw it in. You must get through Alpha Roar before you can successfully do any damage to Bark. Now, if we get Flapjack, we can one turn Bark, and the reason for that is because Flapjack's power-up makes it so that he powers up when he is in lane alone, and what that lets us do is essentially literally take Bark out in a single recoloring, as opposed to having to spend 2 turns recoloring him, when potentially Flapjack is your only blue friend at this point. One of the reasons we leveled Gyro up earlier is because Gyro also gives us a blue, and entering a zone with only 1 blue with only 1 of that color is a bit scary, so we purposely routed it in, or I guess I routed it in, where you would have 2 colors instead of 1. So this is the hardest boat trip in the any % category. What we're going to try to do is make it to both of these islands without getting respawned. So I need to come to this island, buy a stuffed animal, get back in friendship, and if we're lucky... we didn't get it. It is possible to make that trek in 1 journey, but it is very hard, and you have to aim incredibly straight on both paths, or you will not make it.
Sergeant, do we have just a moment here?
We do, yes.
Because we have 2 donations that I would like to read to you. One is from Erwan for $20, and it says, "We can't let the doggo down," which obviously went to our Pet the Dog incentive, so thank you so much for those $20. And we have a $150 donation from Mana Void Entertainment, which reads, "Thank you for including our game. Happy to be a part of this, and we hope others will join us for this great cause." And with that, we have officially reached the donation incentive to Pet the Dog again at the end of this run. So thank you guys so much for donating to that incentive.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Mana Void, for creating this game for us. It's a absolutely amazing game, and I'm super glad that you guys had a successful Kickstarter and were able to produce this. So there was a small skip there. You can actually get around knocking that platform down for Joe, and I could have done a skip even after knocking it down, but one of the most annoying things about this run, no offense to you guys at the devs, is that you were very, very solid with your trigger work. I can literally get from the start of this island up to Wabam and into the Wabam fight without ever completing a single Tentacle Joe puzzle. But because Joe is not up there, like, I can actually get into the room where Joe pushes you into the pit.
Right, but if you don't have Joe, it's not going to activate.
Because he's not there, there is no cutscene that could possibly activate.
So Joe is meant to be a very kind of annoying character in this whole sequence where Joe requires a lot of help, and the whole point is to get Joe up there, and I can see how that's frustrating.
Yeah, it was.
It's It's based on the Lemming games. So the Lemming game is you have to make puzzle with creatures that are basically thoughtless AI that work in a certain way, and we picked it for Tentacle Joe since he's meant to be quite annoying. We wanted to even if there's no small ball in the staircase, he won't get up because he's Tentacle Joe and he wants to have the small ball.
I did notice that, yeah. So there's a small little skip you can do there. Don't know if you knew you could hit the snowball that way.
That I didn't know.
I will admit, I remember us having a lot of having to do a lot of polish with the snowballs because there was a few times where it's like, oh, the snowball's too big, it actually won't move, or oh, the snowball fell, but it's still up there, so it can't tell if it's down or not.
I actually just found a new soft lock. Those are probably not words you love hearing. With the snowballs the other day, if you miss the first snow pile on the second set, and then reset after collecting the third one, so your snowball size is 3, you can no longer hit the snowball anymore. And you completely soft lock your game until you close the application and restart it on this patch.
Well, case in point.
Yeah. But
I have fun trivia.
Yeah, go on.
The island just before. So, Bark usually in all the development team, Bark is acclaimed to be one of the favorite creatures just because he's cute and he's small and
Big fan favorite.
yeah.
Excellent character design. It's just teeth on legs.
Yes. So we really like the name Bark because it was very simple. So we and since Alfaror was his brother, we thought maybe we could call him Beta Bark to like dogs and alpha males and beta males, but we chose to keep it Bark, and this pushed a kind of weird narrative in the dev team where that's a fun skip too. Where there was a kind of a legendary creature, a third brother called Omega Howl.
Omega Howl got rejected, though. We didn't keep the creature. But indeed, there is the legendary secret creature, Omega Howl, that would be the untold third brother and never made it in the game.
You get a little hint of it if you go to the later in the game. There's the secret teller and all that, so there's a little hint of it, but that's all we could squeeze in about it, sadly.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that. One sec. Wabam is a pretty interesting fight. Red, orange, purple, blue. So red, orange, purple, blue. So Wabam is 2 colors that we red, orange. Orange and blue. Orange and blue. Orange and blue. Wabam is 2 colors. Oh, I accidentally threw the azure on the bottom one. That's unfortunate. Wabam is 2 colors that we do not have yet. As such, I need Wabam to give me 2 specific tokens. I don't know the exact specifics on how tokens work, but what I have surmised, and I would have, if you guys could clarify on this for me, what I have surmised is that the color usually needs to be revealed for him to give you that, but not always. That was really lucky. Additionally, what commentary you choose will determine whether or not he gives it to you. He will never give you token if you say something that will cause morale damage to Billy. But if you say a nice thing, he's more likely to give it to you, and if the color is revealed, he's more likely to give it to you. That was a really good Wabam with that good RNG. But yeah,
That worked really well.
like,
Kidding.
oops. But how exactly does like receiving color tokens work on Wabam specifically? Because he feels very random. I've had rounds where it'll go 5 rounds before he ever gives me a lime token, and the fact that dialogue is randomized what you could say to him really has led to some bad Wabam fights.
I'm not sure exactly for Wabam because I think he can give you 2 different kinds of color tokens.
Yes.
But usually the way it is that we designed for some creatures to give you those tokens for colors you might not have by using a good talk response, because no matter the random replies you get, you'll always get one that is rated good, medium, or bad. And we want to kind of encourage for players to kind of like not just speedrun the game and think a little more like with emotional intelligence when engaging with dialogue. To if you pick the good response, you're more likely to get those bonuses to your health or to your tokens, things like that. So there's a lot of little secrets you can unlock if you focus on optimizing your relationships with your creatures.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess it might just feel a little worse on Wabam, because the fact that he could give you 2 tokens means you might get really unlucky with one of the color tokens.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's one of those things that you don't always think about until you kind of see someone in place where every second counts.
Yeah. So, I alluded to it earlier, we got pushed into the pit by Tentacle Joe, and this is the new area. This is the Sunken Harbor, which we're not quite there yet. We have to go through these mazes, and the way I like to interpret this, not entirely certain if this was the idea, but essentially Billy has lost Giro, he's lost Rodrigo. He is all alone in this state. He is terrified, and this is Billy essentially having to come to terms with who he is, who he can be, and the fact that Billy can indeed get through this alone if he needs to. And essentially this is like a finding of self and overcoming of fear and doubt. There's a lot of gameplay elements going on here as well that are story spoilers that I'm not going to get into that really help allude to that. But yeah, I highly recommend you play this game because a lot does get revealed in this section. Also, that was supposed to be a series of mazes. You might have noticed I completely ignored the intended way to do that and just did it anyway.
That's one of those things that should be easier to streamline and really like speed run through, since it's like a pre-made puzzle. So
yeah.
At least you get some bits like this where you can just run past.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. So the maze part is supposed to be sort of a manifestation of Billy going through some of their, I'm not going to say trauma, but just some of their like more psychological blockages and some of their fears essentially. And they have to do so without help and without their courage. So one of the kind of metaphors we have going on in the game is that Rodrigo kind of represents Billy's courage. Rodrigo speaks when Billy can't. Rodrigo is brave and intrepid and ready to go. And Billy tends to kind of be the acting force, but not so much the one who has all of this exuberant heroic energy for some time still. So over the course of the game, Billy does sort of learn to become a bit more brave, and this is because of the sort of Rodrigo and Billy becoming more and more into one entity, I think. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, John, but I think that that's the way that it had been going on.
You're pretty much on point. It's later on they both start speaking pretty much in equal measure, so...
Yeah. So, yeah, at this stage, Billy needed to get through the maze part, which is scary, to sort of face their own fears alone, essentially. Without their courage, they kind of needed to make up their own courage, right? Without it being like some sort of an external... Kind of like when a kid uses a plushie as like a projection of like Mr. Teddy Bear doesn't want to do that, but like you don't know how to express it, that you know this isn't something you want. So that's kind of it, is that this kid is essentially learning to speak up for themselves without using like a projection object or whatever.
Okay, one sec. Purple, blue, violet, green, azure. He gave me a green token. Purple, blue. I need a violet, and now I just need, I need that green token, and unfortunately I didn't get it. So this is Bone. Bone is another, they basically give you Wabam. They, like, you guys aren't here. you give us Bol or Wabam, who is 2 colors, immediately followed by Boln, who is those same 2 colors. Who, I mean, you have Wabam at this point, but I would say Sunken Harbor really takes this game quite up a little bit in terms of difficulty, right at the start, because the way you have to optimize your colors. On top of the RNG needed to really get what you want, is it starts getting quite intense with the Wabam straight into Boln. As such, I like to say that if the run is failing, it's because Boln, who for quite a while through Sunken Harbor is your only green, it's because Boln did not bless me with RNG. So you need a lot of green to get through the early parts of Sunken Harbor.
Yeah, the difficulty ramps up a little bit here. At this stage, we're introducing a bunch of new colors. Yeah, we're going more into the greens and teals. So like we said, up above where Fried Frost was more like in the purples and blues and ultramarines kind of thing. And here, it's very green and teal. And I personally love the color scheme down here. The 3D artist did an amazing job at setting it up. I just think everything looks so pretty and jewel-like down here. It's one of my favorite places.
I need to be sure not to soft luck here. All right, we didn't soft luck. We're good. Sorry, just wanted to mention.
I have something to add.
Go on.
Yeah. About the green and the bone. So we had, there's 2 parts I want to talk about. So in the first part of the game, so Dino Land, it's actually very easy for veteran players and gamers alike. But it was very easy just so the young kids and the newer gamer could access the game too. So to basically get them up to speed with the mechanics. So there's very easy puzzles and combats on this part. And the other reason why there's only 1 green as bone, it was to force the player to level up the creatures. So you playing in speedrun mode gets obviously it's very harder. It's possible still, and you need good RNG. Yes. But it was meant to be very harder, and it was also meant for the player to get to know the creatures and feed them the good toys and the goodies like.
I will say, I remember I was in the devs or in the Ask the Devs channel, talking about one of the friends, specifically Uwu. Uwu is the bane of my existence.
You and me both, buddy.
If you go to Uwu at the very first possible chance you get, Uwu doesn't give you any colors. So it's physically impossible to beat him because the only greens and the only azures that you have, if you do literally no leveling up at that point, he despawns them, removing them from your hand, and you're literally forced to sit there until Uwu takes all of your morale. So the all friends category, which is the other speedrun I've done on this, it takes about 2 hours longer. I had to route a ton of different level ups friends to get more greens and more azures into my deck, and I had to do Uwu after Furogoro just to make sure I could get through Uwu on first visit and not lose a ton of time to him. That guy is quite the fight. And I wrote a rather scathing opinion on why he should definitely be rewarding you colors.
That's valid.
Wow.
But
I think I wasn't the one who had done the first character design for Uwu, but when I got around to making the creature in like its final form, and it just looked like an insufferable little imp. And I forgot whose idea it was to just name it Uwu. But I think ever since that point, I think it was Jackie. Ever since that point, it was just clear to everyone on the dev team that this creature needed to be insufferable. Just like a horrendous little beast.
When I first fought
dialogues, the design, it's just supposed to be unpleasant.
when I first fought Uwu, my entire chat just turned into Uwu, what's this? For the entire day.
Yep, you're welcome.
I genuinely spent a good amount rewriting that character's dialogue just to make sure I could cram in as many.
We're gonna do a quick
this
skip here.
into their fights.
Nice, we got it. So that saves 3 intended hits on this ball right there by doing that hit. Just a small little skip. Yeah, Uwu,
Okay.
what's this? Yeah, thanks so much for that.
You're welcome? Question mark.
Yeah, Uwu is thankfully, I'm glad you guys made him optional, at least. Because if he was mandatory, this run would be very different and have even less runners, and I'm the only runner right now. Uwu's scary, dude. Uwu's scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the most unpleasant creatures got relegated to optional section. Just to try to avoid, like, the game's not meant to be super difficult.
Red, pink, purple. So is Hydrali meant to be another mini boss? Because Hydrali has a lot of HP for what seems like almost unnecessarily, like, Lavarilla levels of amount of different colors he needs. He's 3 different colors, or 3 of 5 different colors. And he's really early on into, Sunken Harbor.
I don't think they were specifically meant to be a mini boss, but I think we kind of realized that a lot of the creatures had like similar amounts of colors you had to give back, and we wanted to put a little bit of variation so that the length of the fight or what you're expected to do feels a little different. So like by putting a larger health bar with like more colors expected versus like someone like Bolin, where it's like it's more mysterious what the colors are, but there's less of them, it would make it a little more unpredictable and make it feel like every fight has its own like little gimmick going on.
I see.
So I can't see how it inconveniences the speedrunning part.
So, Bark's special ability is he summons his brother, which normally I would say is annoying to situational. Hydrali is one of the few fights where that is actually very good. It's a free token, and Hydrali is one of the only fights in the game that, at this stage, after getting Bark, that is both pink and red, or violet and red. So, like, Bark really excels at Hydrali when he's been leveled up. Also, you'll notice these butterflies on the battlefield. That is Wabam's special ability. What Wabam does is he makes it so that mini games are easier to complete. Every mini game has at least or about 5 levels, ranging from very easy to very hard. There's different effects that influence that, but Wabam lowers every difficulty by 1, and every stacking of a friend increases the difficulty by 1. So essentially, Wabam makes it seem like every row only has 1 friend in it, which is a really nice mechanic for some of the significantly more terrifying mini games to lose in a speedrun sense. Alright, gotta make sure I don't soft lock. For some reason, if you mash too quickly during a cutscene where Shobishov gives you a key, he'll just never give you the key and you'll be stuck in perpetual dialogue box. That was one of the first soft locks I found in this game, which, if you guys watched the very first run I did, I got a little, angry, I'll say, at the game for that.
That makes sense, yeah, absolutely.
Understandable.
Alright, and this is Rododando. He's your second thought fight. Now, this thought is pretty intense with its colors being thrown at you. So what we're going to do is we're going to essentially completely ignore it and just throw Rododando's purples, blues, violets, and greens So let's see here. Purple, blue, violet, and green. So we'll take this violet here. Purple, blue, violet, green. He has only one violet, which I've hit him with there. So I need... this is where the Sarge gets lost in thought moment starts to begin here. Apologies. Hold on. 2 blues, 2 purples, 2 greens. 2 blues, 2 purples, 2 greens. So there's a blue. I need another blue. 2 purples, a blue, 2 purples, and 2 greens. So we're really hoping for Bone, because again, we only have one Bone or 1 green in our hand. That is Bone, and unfortunately, Bone cursed us. This is the curse of Bone. He did not show up until... Ooh, that was unfortunate. I hit X too fast. He did not show up until the final shuffle, so Bone is laughing at us with his green that he did not give us the first round, which would have made the most optimal possible Rododando. So now we essentially have to lose time to an entire extra turn of both Rododando and this thought attacking us. The RNG really starts to kick it up a notch here, like I said, because of the green. And you mentioned you're definitely intended to have more friends at this point, and this fight really does emphasize that. Does Rododando? Yes, he has purples. Okay.
Yeah, Rododondo's pretty tricky. A bit of a tougher character.
I think that's fine. I'm a bit lost here. Yeah, so this is gonna be the point where I start to talk less and focus on combat more.
Yeah, go for it.
Just because of stuff like
That's
this.
what we're here for.
So he should only need the other green, which I have to... Because Bone is on the field, I think the only thing I've really noticed is when someone is on the field, they will never be the next token flipped up, but after that, he could be flipped up at literally any point. So, at this point, it is just, will we be blessed by Bone? I just have to keep shuffling my hand until Bone decides to show up. So here's hoping Bone is nice in 1 flip. Nope, 2 flips. Okay, we got 2 flips on Bone. 2 flips is not bad. Now again, obviously this entire extra Bone token could have possibly been avoided entirely if we had gotten good RNG on the first round, but Bone decided not to show up, and hence we blame Bone for that minute of time loss there. Fun guy Bone is.
John, I'm curious. You had mentioned to me once that Rododondo was one of your favorite creatures. Was there a reason for that? Was he fun to write?
He was,
Oh.
because it's essentially... you can do the pseudo-Italian accent, which Tiff actually helped with because a lot of her family speaks Italian, she does too. And second was that you could basically make a blabbermouth who just makes up crazy stories mid-fight, and instead of kind of just being, just talking about their feelings like everyone else, he'll go on these long, weird tangents, and it feels so fun to write those after, like, just, okay, I've done enough, like, wholesome mental health talk, let's talk about someone who's just trying to make themselves seem way cooler than they are.
We did a small skip up the boat there, by the way, and now we're just gonna hop on these background planks to get across that room a little faster. I also really like Rododando.
I didn't even know you could do that.
Yeah, those all have collision that is inbounds. So yeah, that's fun. There is a specific solution to this puzzle. I don't believe there are 2 ways to solve this puzzle. It would be nice if there was, because the puzzle's kind of long. I actually the devs here could see I have the solution written in my split, so if they're looking at this MLMM nonsense, that's what I'm doing right now. It's the order of the snowballs I have to hit to successfully solve this. Well, I mean, you all see a trumpet, but trust me, this is by definition a toot toot. And we will hence refer to it as the
Absolutely
toot
is.
toot.
Oh yeah.
With the chew train? Oh no.
I know. Honestly, we got very emotionally attached as soon as we watched. I don't know the character's name, the trumpetist, I guess. As soon as they said something like, I just want to go toot toot, and we were like, all right, well, we'd die for him.
I do love the trumpets. So Froggero's a pretty intense fight. Remember how I said bones are only green? Guess what, guys? Froggero takes 4 greens. So if now would be a
Gonna take a couple of turns, yeah.
Yeah, this fight's gonna take a little bit. So now would be a good time if the host would like to drop something, and then the devs, if they'd like to say something after that, you guys are free to talk. Well, I just pretty much try to take out this fight, which is going to take a few turns to do.
Absolutely, perfect. So, while this enemy right here takes 4 greens, we were given 5 greens, which basically means $5, by Pikastrop, who says, let's start the choo train. So, guys, if you want to ask for us to go all uwu on you guys, just, keep on donating, because we still have one incentive that has not been met so far. It is one for Levelhead, coming way later on in the marathon, and it is to kill the Blobfish. And yes, I didn't have a stroke right there. The enemy exactly called that the Blobfish. If you want to find out what the heck that is, you need about $45 more to go ahead and meet that incentive. So, if you get this ooh train going, maybe go ahead and put your money toward that incentive. Also, we are about halfway through this run, so how about we do another roll call so our viewers who may have joined mid-run actually know who the hell is talking here. So if you guys would just go ahead and quickly reintroduce yourselves to our audience, that would be fantastic.
Sure. I'm Sergeant Silent. I'm running the game for you guys. Super happy to be here. And with me, I have quite a few very, very special guests. Thank you again, all of you, for taking time out of your day to be here. If you guys don't mind, go ahead, introduce who you are, because it's amazing that you're here.
Right, well, the 3 of us here are devs, and I think I speak for everyone when I say that it is a pleasure to watch this. We're having a lot of fun on this Sunday morning. My name's Tiff. I was one of the artists on the team. I did most of the 2D art.
My name's John. I was the lead writer on the Rainbow Billy project.
And my name is Felix. I'm a level designer. I worked on Rainbow Billy for 2 years prior to release.
And again, thank you, all of you, for coming here, and I'm glad you're enjoying the run. It's honestly been going quite well. I'm very happy with what we've been seeing so far here. We didn't get it.
I'm very impressed you're managing to go this fast and getting this much done while talking. That's a heck of a multitask there.
Yeah, it's practice.
Our community manager Kev describes this as like, it's like watching somebody shatter your game, but with love. And I've got to admit, that's exactly how it feels.
Yes, I would say that is genuinely what speedrunning is. Most people wouldn't speedrun a game unless they really liked it, and that's pretty true. I did honestly love this game. This game came out, I believe, around October-ish. I picked it up through Lurk It, where you guys had a campaign. One sec, Kubi is pink, violet, and yellow. And despite this game coming out in October, Twitch does this thing called a yearly recap. Pink, violet, yellow. Didn't commit any of that to memory. Pink, violet, yellow. Can we get a yellow? And that comes out in December, which means that this game, which came out in October, in the 3 months since it came out, when the recap came out, my Twitch recap stated that Rainbow Billy was my most played game of the year 2021. In 3 months,
I'm so happy to hear that.
This game surpassed every other game I had streamed on my Twitch channel. It was
kind of an awesome record.
We'll take it as a compliment.
Yeah, for sure.
It is indeed a compliment, yes. Yellow, pink, and what's the thing? Oh, I never got the other yellow. All right, so I need one more yellow. Unfortunately, Kubi normally gives you a yellow token on the first hand, but they didn't, which is mildly concerning. But remember how I said I leveled up some of my friends earlier? One of the friends I leveled up was Giro, and the advantage to leveling Giro up was that Gyro gives you a yellow, which is not really a color you're supposed to have this early. I would imagine, especially not from Gyro. So leveling him up early makes Kubi a much more consistent fight.
Yeah, Gyro's kind of there to, because, you know, early on you can try to level up Gyro as much as possible, and that gives you access to blues and yellows. So Gyro's kind of there to help unblock things a little bit for the future, but you're right that, like, yellows is not really a color you've had much access to so far.
Yeah, which it's funny because one of the friends, I'm blanking on his name. He's the anteater in
Yeah.
What's the first
Spirelli.
world? Not Spirelli, the other anteater in the first world. With the feather.
Yes, that's Frips.
Frips, thank you. You can actually get to him immediately after defeating Dragulant, just barely with the amount of rainbow fuel you guys provided, and he takes yellow. So getting a Gyro upgrade ahead of time will actually help you on Frips as well. But he
Yeah,
definitely
absolutely.
helps on Spirelli, who we won't even see Spirelli in this run because he's in a completely optional room. I don't know if he was intended to be optional, but he is optional.
It was actually.
Okay.
Yeah, intended, yeah.
Okay, cool. It felt weird with how his trigger box worked. I was like, okay, I'm just not gonna fight this guy. Go on.
Just in case some of the viewers haven't quite caught on yet, the idea in this game is that there's 3 main areas after you leave Star Harbor, which is the starting spot. You go through Dino Land, then you go through Fright Frost / Sunken Harbor, and then you go through what did we call it? The Sanctum of
Sanctum
Self.
of Self, yep.
Right, and these 3 areas are basically the 3 primary colors, right? So the first being red, then blue, then yellow. And that's why the further along you get into the game, the more you know, yellow is reserved for later in the game because it's more yellows, oranges, greens, and that's in that last area.
So I'd really quickly like to apologize to the devs who are watching because if you guys have not heard, Whisper is one of those intentional friends that, guess what? You could skip him. And we just did.
All right, well, it is what it is.
My God.
Bye, Whisper.
He's the only friend I am aware of in the game you could skip, and you definitely want to skip him. He's a little bit of a tedious fight. He takes quite a lot of colors, and he is a special fight where he only gives you 1 row. Now, you guys were super nice. You'll notice at the top left, I still got Whisper. Little bit of a buggy cutscene. It's fine, it's fine, it's fine. I just know where that map is stored now. But yeah, you guys still give us Whisper, which is super, super awesome because he's a very valuable card with the Azure he provides. And with that, we're on to Calypso, another boss who has 2 phases. So the lore of the band is the band was supposed to play Calypso's song, basically empower it by spreading the sad emotions. And the band doesn't want to do that, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to save the band. And this fight's pretty intense, so I'm going to do some focusing on this. So if you guys want to just take some time and potentially talk about Calypso or anything like that, feel free.
Yeah, I have something to say about the skip you did on Whisper. So I just want to say that rest assured this bug will not be fixed. We'll keep the strat intended, and it's gonna be possible to keep doing it after the patch.
I'm very happy to hear that because finding that that was pretty cool. I was super excited when I had finally found the first like really big massive skip that wasn't just jumping on an object to do a small bypass. 'Cause I'm sure you guys can, like, that's potentially 5 minutes depending on how quickly you get that skip. That's a lot of time save on that fight. So it's super nice having at least 1 friend, and to be completely honest with you guys, if I find more, I'm doing more. But it's okay.
Go for it, man.
Hey, that's the way you play the game. Go for it.
The goal is finding more. So yeah, I mean, if anyone else wants to join Billy, I mean, first off, just highly recommend this game in general. But second off, come help, route it, have fun. It's great. It's a great game. There's a lot of potential, and even if there's not, the game just feels awesome to play. It really does. I can't pretend it does not feel amazing to play this game.
I'm really glad to hear that, and I would hope so, considering how much time you probably put into it. So I hope you weren't having a bad time with it. But it's really fun to watch you play, and it's really fun. Like, I don't know if you can tell, but us devs get very excited when somebody streams the game or you know, just makes a show of it. Like, we're very happy to see people play it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would imagine whenever you put at least 2 years of effort and time into a game, just knowing someone is playing your game and enjoying it is a great feeling to begin with.
Absolutely. It's the whole goal, right? So
Yeah.
you make games to make people happy at the end of the day, and we think Rainbow Billy is a very happy game to begin with.
Yes.
But yeah, I think also part of being a game dev is sort of you kind of make peace early with the fact that different players play different ways. So, you know, don't apologize for skipping things. Like, we just find it impressive. Even if it wasn't the intended play style, it's still like somebody's having a good time with our game, so it doesn't really matter how you're playing it as long as you're having fun with it, right?
Right. Yeah. Sorry. Just combat.
Oh no
Red
problem.
Is your purple? He's an orange. If I can get another Azure. Okay. So a mechanic that's getting introduced in this fight, you'll notice that the band members are throwing this ice ball, which, similar to On Fire, is another elemental effect. This elemental effect is ice. Ice freezes one of the tokens in your hand, which, they remain frozen until they are in your hand on a turn where they're frozen, and then you end your turn and that unfreezes them. So the goal of this fight is to make sure you end your turn with cards in your hand that you don't care about, because then they'll freeze cards that you don't care about. For instance, if I had an Azure and a red in my hand, and it's completely random what gets frozen, the Banjoist here froze those. He froze the red, for example. I now have to spend time flipping through my deck to find another red. Now I have a lot of reds, so I'm not too fussed about the red. Azure at this point is a significantly more scary color to have frozen. But honestly, this has been an extremely good Calypso 1 fight. Relative to what could happen with the RNG, oh god, okay, that worked. Relative to what could happen with the RNG in this fight, I'm very happy with how the Calypso 1 fight went. That was very good, in a speedrun sense. And immediately, the theme of bosses is, guess what? Phase 2. Phase 2 keeps the freeze mechanic. Because we've colored the band members, Calypso goes, alright, look, you're not gonna play for me. I'm gonna make the instruments do it themselves. And now I have to convert the instruments over to give them back to the band members. This is where things can get a little scary, because you're always going to be taking who do I want to throw here? I'm gonna throw I have a lot of people in my hand who I don't want to get frozen, so I'm gonna have to sacrifice. Essentially, until you've taken all 4 instruments out, 2 people in your hand are always going to be frozen. As you can see from my hand, 2 people in my hand are very valuable to this fight. So the real thing I need to do is focus on taking the instruments out as quickly as possible, because it's impossible to beat this fight until all 4 instruments have been completed, to my knowledge. And the instruments are going to continually freeze tokens, and the more tokens that get frozen, the less tokens I have to throw. So while damaging Calypso is important, it is not as important as doing damage to these instruments and taking them out with really good RNG, it is possible to fully wipe out both instruments on the first turn and then both on the second turn. That's extremely unlikely. As you can see here, it didn't happen. It could have if I had thrown Kubi, but I hate Kubi. I am not going to play Kubi's minigame unless I absolutely have to. It's not fun.
Yeah, that's relatable. Like, Kubi is actually my nemesis too.
Like,
Yeah.
I have a super hard time with Kubi or a web.
do I have any purples? Okay, I have a purple here. I don't have a blue. That's unfortunate. I don't have an orange. I do have that. Yeah, so the big problem that I have with Kubi is that I'm gonna throw Gyro. Gyro's special effect is give me an extra token. The big problem I have with Kubi is that you are not aware of how the projectile you have to bounce is going to behave right off the bat. I've had Kubi literally alley-oop that pearl projectile straight down into the far left corner, and I'm notoriously bad at reaction time, so there goes Kubi's minigame. Instantly, 2 purples gone down the drain. And it's even harder with more friends, so I avoid throwing Kubi at the front of a row, specifically because the chance that Kubi just dunks on me and I get no credit at all for that entire row, because Kubi only gives you 1 projectile, so it's an all or nothing ability, and I'm not good enough at Kubi. I'm perfectly willing to admit that. Kubi's scary.
It's part of the strat, you know. If one minigame is too hard, it's kind of up to the player to optimize it so they don't use this minigame.
Yep. And it's unfortunate because Kubi, Booster, and Lavarilla are your purples at this point, and Lavarilla is the only one who I really like playing. And if you look here, guess who just got frozen? Lavarilla. This is where the bad RNG really starts to show.
Oh boy.
Okay, so here's what I can do. Yeah, I'm in a bit of a pickle right now because the colors I need are just not coming up, and right now Bark would actually be detrimental to throw because he would take that row up and force me to throw a red into that row, which I don't want. I really need a blue this draw, or this is very scary. Okay, so we're gonna knock Toot Toot out instantly because any circle minigame is actually really easy, thankfully, if you've memorized the inputs. So that banjo's been there from the start, but I've just not been getting the blues that I need. Calypso needs blues, every instrument needs blues. Blues in the speedrun for this fight are like the resource that you are incredibly low on and really need. They are the limiting factor in this. Surprisingly, it's not green or azure with the current route, it is blue. But yeah, I mean, there you go. Another 2 tokens got frozen. Thankfully, neither of those really matter. It's just I need to get through this as optimally as possible, and because I said I need these blues, I'm actually going to throw Wabam as blue. I'm gonna throw that there, and yeah, I'm just gonna do what I can to get through and hope I can do damage to instruments here because I really need it. But yeah, if there's anything you guys would like to say about Calypso 2, go ahead. Now's a good time while I just focus on getting through.
I think narratively what's happening here, and correct me if I'm wrong, John, but if I recall, the idea is that we had nicknamed Calypso the Queen of Control. Her whole thing is that she wants things to happen in a very, very precise way. It's why she tried to have the musicians playing, I guess, a more classical kind of music. I don't think I'm using the right term, but it doesn't matter. So she's just very controlling about what the musicians were supposed to play, and when they didn't play the songs that she wanted them to play, she basically took the instruments herself and said, "I'll do it," which is a very controlling move.
She is also a character that had to go through a few rewrites because kind of decided early on, like, okay, let's do like this kind of like robot witch vibe, and I was like, okay, there's a few things we can do with that, but there's also this kind of undertone that there's kind of like this this like therapist energy to a lot of the dialogue, and we realized a little late, but thankfully we were able to correct it, that some of it sounded a little bit creepy in the way they were suggesting the control stuff, so we had to do some quick emergency rewrites on this character as a result.
Yeah, that was a bit of a tricky caricature to balance out.
Is that where this the transformation of Calypso into the second form is striking, I would say? Is that some of the idea here behind that?
So, kind of, yeah. Basically, I think Calypso was the character who required the most work in terms of concept art and character designs and stuff like that. It took a lot of tries to get Calypso right. And for the first few tries, we were going more in like a mermaid direction and maybe a pirate direction. And it took a lot of attempts to finally decide that Calypso was more robotic. And when we did decide, you know, obviously there's going to be a phase 1, phase 2, and there's always a bit of a transformation there. But when we decided to do it with Calypso, we decided that she was essentially two-faced. She went from being calm and collected and in control, and you know, her entire aesthetic was very polished in her first phase, where everything is very tightly wound up together, almost like she was like there's like a gear in her back or something that you can tighten. And in her second phase, she obviously gets disjointed at this point. She's upset that she's losing control over everything. She's extending her arms into a bunch of different multi-tools that is essentially supposed to represent how she's just taking control of everything and just being very, very grabby and hands-on about all of her obstacles. Also and this is a bit harder to catch, but her face turns upside down. So in the original phase, you can see right now that her face is flipped, and that what used to be her collar is now her hair or crown, and that what used to be her lips is now sitting on her forehead. So pretty interesting little touch there, but she basically just goes berserk and well, flips out, literally. So.
Yep. So right there, you'll notice on that last turn, I think all my greens were frozen. So when Bolm came up, I just kind of accepted it and let him thaw out, because greens again are a pretty scary color, and that was the one color I was missing. So I just.
I'm starting to see what you mean by the curse now.
Yeah,
it's really
I just
tight.
kind of let that happen. I took the penalty for that. Also, the current song that's playing, I don't know how well anyone can hear it. The devs know for a fact what's playing, but I don't think they can.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, this is probably my favorite song in the game, and if there is a jukebox coming, I might listen to this song for a couple minutes.
Oh yeah.
On repeat.
I believe we've also put the OST now on YouTube, but like all as one video, so we don't have it separated by songs yet.
I see.
And I think we also put it on Spotify, but the album updates are coming eventually. But yeah, this song is fantastic. I don't remember which one it's called exactly.
At current, I will say at least what's in game feels like it's a little bit of a short loop, so I'm hoping that the one on the album's a little longer, because it's really good. It's a shame how short it feels like. But maybe that's just me in the speedrunning sense. It feels like it's always repeating. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah, possible.
Forgot to skip the cutscene.
Our composer Altwin did a very big soundtrack for this game too. There's close to like 3.5 hours of music for this game, I think.
There is a lot of music, and I really do like the music in this game. It was very good. So credits to him or them.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We managed to nail a really good vibe and get a lot of. Because when we started composing, a lot of people were sadly locking up because of the 2020 event that we will not name. Mm-hmm. But because of that,
Makes things difficult for recording a band.
Yeah.
But we managed to also get in touch with a lot of musicians that ended up being kind of like out of work and wouldn't go on to shows. So he was able to contact them and be like, "Hey, if you guys are interested, like I'm still doing this project now, and if you guys want to do like a band from a distance, we can still make this work." And it ended up leading to some really cool events when we got like a bunch of musicians just kind of working from a distance to create something like this, which I always thought was super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Between that and the song at the very end that plays during the final boss fight, like those two songs, I love both of those songs. Those are great.
Yeah, I think adding lyrics to some of the songs was a nice decision.
It does turn out these two songs are like lyrics.
Yeah, this post calypso song was called "Nothing Will Get in Your Way," and it's a very feel good song, kind of bluegrassy, which is a way more free and exciting music style than what they were originally playing. So it's supposed to symbolize how the musicians finally broke out of their predisposed roles or whatever.
Yep.
Oh, Prickle. He's one of my favorites.
All right, so we have moved on to the next realm, and do you guys like snake jokes? I got a joke for you. You guys know why snakes are measured in inches? It's because they don't have any feet. I don't know if that joke travels to non-Americans, but it's funny. Knee slapper.
Are you proud of that one, John? Are you?
Yeah, I'm proud of that one. I'm not gonna lie. Spent a lot of time making snake puns for this one fight. And fun fact for those of you out there who might be struggling with this level, if you actually choose all the right punchlines to the jokes, you can beat Prickle without ever having to throw a single attack.
Really? You can just joke him?
Yes, he does
you get
damage.
all the jokes perfectly. It's just like, okay, you're too funny, I give up, let's go.
Yep, he does
That's amazing. I didn't
damage
get that.
to himself one color at a time. It's not as fast as what I just did, which was a one cycle Prickle, but
I see that.
yeah, being able to beat a couple enemies you can actually beat. Prickle's the only one in this category who damages himself, but in All Friends there's a couple that we like Dreco, for example. We literally just let Dreco and Cahoots do themselves. There's no reason to fight them. Cahoots I don't think is actually really worth fighting casually, but that's a different friend for a different category. I'm currently being threatened to be banned from the marathon, so if I randomly get disconnected for that joke, I'm sorry, guys. Just heads up.
What?
Apparently chat didn't love that snake joke. I'll take the blame though. I'll take the blame. Don't worry.
It's not Sarge's fault.
Yeah, technically that's mine. Blame me, not Sarge.
Blame John. I mean.
I mean, well, speaking, it's not only Twitch chat, it's basically the host and the tech guy talking.
Got it.
Behind his back.
So the basic theme of Sanctum of Self is essentially the friends come to the Sanctum of Self to find their essentially literally find themselves. They come here hoping orange, azure, green, 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 yellow, yellow, to find something about them to help them grow stronger, and the doubt and self like fear and all of that is causing them to turn into this tear or this like shadowed form. Orange?
Yeah.
Sorry, go you first. Orange, green, green, green.
Well, the Sanctum of Self is very much about introspection. It's why a lot of the mechanics here is about light and mirrors and shadows, and it's very much just about yourself, which is why I never loved the name Sanctum of Self, because I was like, isn't that a little on the nose? But you know, a lot of this game is. But yeah, it's very much about kind of isolation and figuring out who you are by looking inwards. We had kind of given different themes to the 3 different areas in the game on 2 different levels, where essentially the 3 areas of the game mostly represent kind of, the red is the physical, the blue is the psychological or mental, like where, you know, your emotions and your thoughts and whatever else, and the yellow is almost like a sense of spirituality. It's something about looking inward to, like, more of almost a soul or a spirit instead of it being the physical and the mental. So I mean, interrupt me if anything's wrong with what I'm saying, John, but like I think that was kind of the themes that we ended up going for here.
Yep, that's pretty much it, actually, and it was also just an intention we had when we were working with Virginie, who's someone who helped a lot with the narrative design of the game, was to make all the colors seem to like work on different spectrums of insecurity, but also so that as the mechanics go up in difficulty, just the nature of the conversations, the subject matter gets a little more complicated, so that at first in Dino Land you're kind of solving these little like, oh, it's kind of like insecurities that feel, even though they're valid, they're a little silly, and versus here, like, characters are like, oh, they're having, like, existential crises, and like, oh, what does it mean to have a purpose or to have value and stuff like that, so it was kind of an intention to, like, as you get better at the game, your emotional intelligence grows a little bit, so we kind of wanted to mirror that with the narrative and the mechanics and the fights with that.
Wow. I never thought of it as a mind, body, and soul kind of thing, but I think that's a good interpretation of what you guys were saying, and that actually makes this game, with what I know from playing it, that makes this game make a lot of sense. I actually really like at least that personal interpretation of it.
Yeah. The other direction in which we kind of led the three areas, the other themes at play here is, and it's a bit more obvious, is the masculine, the feminine, and the self. So Dinoland being very physical and very, like, it is the body, but it's also very, like, it's kind of macho. A lot of things going on in Dinoland is, it's playing around a lot on ideas of, like, oh, am I strong enough? Am I big enough? Are people hearing me enough? Is it, you know, am I enough on, like, a physical sense? And then when you get into the blue area, it's more feminine in a way, like, especially, you know, the decor and the colors and everything's just a bit more, like, kind of soft but controlled and very, like, polished, all the while playing on the mental and, you know, just, yeah, more on the mind, I guess. And here it's entirely more gender neutral what's going on visually, but yeah, it's mostly about the self. So like I said, the puzzles are all about mirrors and lights and stuff, and it's all about looking inward, which was a pretty fun way to go about the artistic direction of things, I suppose.
And correct me if I'm wrong, Fidix, but you had a hand in a lot of the puzzles in this world, am I right?
Oh yeah,
yes,
this was...
exactly. So this world I basically created from the ground up. I basically had only a couple of mechanics we highlighted as maybe we could do. So I jumped ahead and created most of the puzzles. Personally, my favorite puzzle to design are the light mirror puzzles. So that's why in the next patch there will be a new light mirror puzzle with colors, which was very fun to create. I hope you can play it soon. So yeah, it was such a blast to create this, to place the islands, to place the 2 levels of water, to think where to put the creatures. It was very interesting.
Speaking of the Lightmare puzzles, this is a question I've had, and this might get the entire dev chat going, oops. I'm gonna ask a semi-serious question. So these puzzles, if you'll notice when I complete this, I get this little mini cutscene of the blue one activating, but I want to point out what happens when I complete the red one, just for you guys here. So I'm gonna complete the red one, and you're gonna notice that no cutscene there. I can just keep moving. What was the choice? Was that on purpose, or just a whoops that the red doesn't cutscene but the blue does?
Yeah, so I can explain that. So there's what we call timeline. So it's kind of cinematic moment where if you can start by the blue or the red one, right? Mm-hmm. So we had to have one timeline, one cinematic for each of those, but at the end we also want one for if the player completes the 2 at the same time. So there's one for the first, and the first one triggers, and the second one triggers, but is overridden by the end one showing the 2 merging together.
I guess.
Okay, so the cinematic basically gets overridden with the cinematic of watching both lights.
There's 2 triggering, and this basically a 2 frame difference. And the first one to trigger, which is the second light beam, gets overridden. Yeah.
I'm not liking this. So Tumby is our first fight with 2 thoughts. Tumby, you really want to take out a thought on, because 2 thoughts attacking is pretty slow, but as you can see here, I'm kind of not getting great RNG despite having 5 tokens now from an upgrade. Plus, one of the big things to consider with thoughts is, again, thoughts are... Their colors are drawn randomly from a select pool of colors. So the top thought has 5 colors, the bottom thought only has 3 colors. But the reason I went for the top thought is because I have to look at what's in my hand, and my hand prioritized the top thought better. But because of that, I was able to take out neither thoughts. Now I'm going to get attacked from both thoughts. Tumby's not too scary as a fight, as long as I make sure I know what I'm doing. But essentially, I do not want 2 thoughts attacking me constantly. So my number 1 goal is to take out one of these thoughts and then begin focusing on Tumby. So that's really my main priority. And Tumby takes a lot of yellows. So I need right now optionally to get a red for that top thought and a yellow for down here. So that right there is a good hand that we just drew. This is going to give me full access to Tumby on 2 rows, and it's going to reduce the amount of attacks coming in on this next one. But Tumby is still going to need another round to defeat. It is possible to 2-turn Tumby, but it's extremely unlikely. You basically need to take out one of the thoughts first turn, and then second turn get insane RNG. As you guys can see, I'm a yellow short, and I don't have another yellow friend, so I basically needed all the stars to align for something like that to happen. But Tumby's just 1 yellow left, so as long as I flip it, that's fine. I'm really hoping for not Prickle, but logic dictates that I'm going to get Prickle. I'm going to find a backup yellow just in case. Prickle's minigame is a little scary because his minigame just spews out a bunch of high velocity projectiles that could do whatever they want, whenever they want. And you saw I almost got hit there, and if I get hit even once, I lose an entire yellow, and I needed both yellows to hit. So I took the time to make sure I had a backup yellow in case, because Prickle's a very scary minigame for me.
Yeah, as a lot of the later creatures, the minigames start, just the base difficulty starts cranking up really fast.
Yes.
And like when you put multiple creatures, the difficulty increases as well, so some just get a little bonkers.
And it's unfortunate being as that starts in the Sanctum itself, which introduces a whole new set of colors that you need. So you're like, enjoy these hard mini games on these new colors you're obligated to play if you didn't level all of your friends up.
Yeah.
But it's
another
fun.
one of those things you don't always consider for the speedrun side. But this is
Absolutely
cool, 'cause
not.
It's a good learning experience on that side too.
I would imagine when you guys were making this game, did the concept of someone picking this up as a speedrun actually come up in any serious discussion? I would imagine at best it was a maybe, but not right now. That's not what we're worried about.
Pretty much. I think it's something we just kind of knew would happen, but not what we were trying to aim for, I guess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, usually RPGs are good targets for speedruns. So personally, as a level designer, I have a lot of saying if the game can be speedrun or not, because I place the colliders and all. So we went with a pretty airtight design. We had lots of thoughts on whether some skips should be implemented. Some skips that are that were fixed were because they straight up broke the game. If you trigger something too early, it's a luck or even corrupt the save. So yeah.
Yeah. So this is Gonk. Gonk is the actual bane of my existence in this run. You guys are evil for designing Gonk the way you did. Him himself's not too bad, but you put 3 thoughts in front of him with completely random color pools. It does a lot of damage. I was on sub 3-hour pace and I died to Gonk during that run, which cost me over 5 minutes, and it was so sad.
No.
It's not your fault, except it is your fault for placing dogs.
That's fair, but I will not apologize for Gonk because Gonk is fantastic.
That, you know what?
That's
fine.
This is one of those places where I think the randomness gets a little mean because his gimmick is that he'll steal 2 of your tokens every turn too, isn't it?
Yeah. So in the original routing of this game, I got here with only 3 tokens per hand draw, and I'm sure you guys can already imagine that does not sound fun when you get 1 token per play and then you have to force a shuffle. So the whole intent of the current any percent route was actually routed around this guy because of the amount of colors and different options that he could just give you. So yeah, there was a lot going on when when I was considering that the route for this. Once I got here, that's why I do 2 level ups to get 2 token draws. So instead of 1 token, I get 3 tokens. That's why I get some of the colors, because these random thoughts can have so much to them that I really want to have as many options available as possible here for this. And I mean, you can see I'm on turn 2 and I'm still not. I just got access to Gonk. It's intense. But
I'm starting to see that.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I do sympathize with you guys. This is a speedrun. I'm here with a lot less colors than I'm supposed to. I do understand and sympathize with that thought.
Yeah, well, kind of just the way the fights are designed, it is very hard to account for that just because, there's a lot of RNG elements with just the way the fights themselves are constructed, with the way you draw your hands and which tokens. But even then, the fact that you can level up your tokens, it becomes very hard to account, like, which optional creatures versus main creatures has the player acquired? Has they leveled any of them up? Have they gotten access to so many thoughts? So it gets a lot of things that can throw wrenches in plans that aren't always accounted for in terms of like speed versus collectability. So I'm starting to see the amount of variability that can become complicated.
In the Ask the Devs, there's actually a table I made, and I think it was Alexis responded and said, yeah, we have that chart as well. That basically said, if you upgraded 0 friends and only collected the mandatory friends, these are the colors that you'll have by the end of the game. And I think you have 1 friend that gives you Azure, and like, I think you have like 2 friends for purple and 1 friend Azure, and it was insane looking at how few colors you'd have if you did 0 friend investment in the game.
Yep.
So I was like, alright, I'm gonna have to invest in friends here somehow. Which is fine, it makes the speedrun more interesting. Because there's the really interesting thing with Billy is there is this balance between when are you losing time upgrading friends versus when are you losing time because you're just not drawing the colors that you need in a combat. And it's really hard to time something like that when you guys could see Gonk is just over 2 hours into this run. I have to start planning for Gonk from the moment I start the run. Like buying those yellow anglerfish or angelfish for Gyro is an example of planning for Gonk, and that is so early on in the run, it's almost impossible to accurately time and account for all of the different possible elements that come down to just that fight. So yeah,
it's part of the routing. So I think a game like Mario, where you pick up stars, you have only the stars to take in account, and there's no RNG. But the fun part I think about it is that you can control a bit your RNG by the cost of time, like you said. So it's a really fun puzzle to solve and a cool route to investigate.
So that's Kabushi right there on that island. Goodbye, Kabushi.
Yeah. No Kabushi, please.
So, I'm curious if you guys don't mind me asking, because this is a little bit of insight into the development process. I'm aware that you guys have no plans on forcing a Kabushi fight. I'm actually really happy about that, but when I was looking on the internet, one of the main complaints that I was hearing was because Kabushi has a thought tied to his fight, if you do what I just did, Kabushi skip, you actually don't get awarded that thought for that fight. What is the workaround change that you guys have planned to account for skipping that fight while keeping it in?
Well, I believe the game is still we're still able to complete the game, so I don't think it's that major.
Yeah, it would
moment, but
strictly affect the 100% or all thoughts completion playthroughs.
Yeah. I believe it's just something to take into account about the RNG of the game, which is basically intrinsic to the completion of a speed run. But if it comes to be a big problem, I think we could implement a little fix in the game.
The thought will be awarded with Kabushi. Thank you. I've been told that by Twitch chatter Yujiro. That's what I figured you guys would do, was you would just, when you got Kabushi, you would just hard code it to also give the thought. That seems like the best solution. Thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, oops, forgot to skip the cutscene. Cutscenes are weird. I haven't really talked about them. If you skip a cutscene before it ever begins playing, it skips instantly. If you skip it after it starts playing, it takes like a second and a half to be able to actually skip the cutscene. So knowing where cutscenes are ahead of time is pretty important. Alright, so we have one more puzzle coming up here, and while I solve this puzzle, I haven't really given Asma a lot of time to read any donations or anything, so now is a good time to read some while we solve this puzzle and get into the next fight before we start talking about it.
Well, since we got a couple new viewers, let's actually tell them who we are. Well, we are Indiethon. We are a tri-annual charity event showcasing all types of indie games. We're bringing you speedruns of games you may not have heard before to help Child's Play support the network of hospitals and domestic violence shelters. There's a place where children can feel safe, play games, and get better. And actually, I have been thinking about this the whole run of this game right here, right now, and I just can't imagine a better game during this marathon to showcase that goal to other people, because I think this would be a really great game, you know, for children to play while they are going through tough times or during any part of their life, actually.
Oh yeah, I highly recommend
Yeah,
this
we tried
game.
to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step
fill
on
the
you.
game
Go
with-
ahead.
Oh, no problem. Same for me. Yeah, we tried to fill this game with a lot of really positive messages that people of any age could relate to somehow. So it is a very kid-appropriate game. And it, you know, it's also just kind of a game that we wrote for people like us who, you know, around our age or who are just going through anything, really. It's been tough times lately.
We actually had a really great support thanks to our publisher Skybound when we managed to partner up with RAD, which is an organization called Rise Against the Disorder, which helps a lot with mental health support, and also a children's book editor to make sure that we did a lot of care and attention to some of the language we used or some of the dialogue to make sure it was very respectful and inclusive, but also that would also tackle these topics in a way that would be like, hey, how do you cover PTSD for an 8-year-old who's never, you know, heard about that before, without it becoming like genuinely traumatic. So that was a great help for us, and it's really helped us make the game very, you know, address those themes in a way that almost anyone can engage with.
Yeah, those having played the game, I could say definitely achieved those goals. The game feels I sat through and read all the dialogue in the game that I could find. There's still one piece of information that I'm missing, but otherwise yeah, I would say you've definitely achieved that. It was very fun to play through, very fun to read, had a few good laughs, and overall I really enjoyed the writing in this game.
That is super validating, thank you.
Of course. So this is Clunky. Clunky is a bit of an odd fight because we've spawned rocks earlier on Frogero. Rocks are basically random spawns that have 2 colors tied to them. They're easy to take care of, but because Clunky is 2 rocks and a thought, and we can't actually access Clunky immediately, the best course of action is to actually try to wipe the thought out at the same time, because you're forced to take attacks from him no matter what, and Clunky, as you can see, lots of different colors here. So the goal is pretty much to cut down as much unnecessary time loss as possible here. So now all we need is friends that I want to throw, which is lime, orange, green, and yellow. So we're gonna lead with this yellow, and we'll play this green. So that's yellow, green, and now we need a lime and an orange, and we will be done with Clunky. So this was a pretty good fight. I'll throw Garora there, and then we can get a lime there. Oops.
So would you say his thought was between a rock and a hard place?
Guess I'm not the only one getting banned from Twitch today.
Sorry, I just couldn't resist when I heard that.
I mean, that is good.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. Alright, and with that, we are out of Clunky. And we are done with the second temple. So, I complained about Gonk earlier. The next fight coming up is the actual scariest fight in the entire run for me personally. Even with this routing, my colors are extremely scarce for some of the colors the upcoming fight will need. Plus, it has a bunch of thoughts continually attacking me, and it has a special mechanic that you have to deal with on top of that, which adds even more RNG. We'll get there, but I'm just gonna give you guys a heads up now that that fight is actually going to be, I have to focus on that fight, so you guys are going to essentially have free reign during who that is. If you don't know yet, you'll, the splits tell you their name, but you'll all see shortly who it is. But before that, I would like to tell everyone about my favorite friend in the game, who is actually coming up next. I'm gonna really build this up. The fight I just explained was hard, but man, oh man, this fight that we are about to do right before it, incredibly challenging. Cannot undersell just how hard this next fight is going to be. I'm realizing I'm talking about it a bit early, so I'm just rambling at this point for commentary. How do you guys, the devs, feel about this upcoming immediate encounter that I'm about to experience? Because I have to say, I love it. Favorite fight in the whole game.
I
to
love
hear
him,
that.
but it broke so many times in development. There was so many instances of him breaking.
I am so shocked the speedrunners telling me this is one of their favorites. This is hilarious to me.
I had a lot of fun with this one, just making it as tediously pleasant as possible.
Yeah, also sour please to this music. This song is amazing.
Oh yeah, I've got a little fun fact about that song actually. Originally, there were supposed to be races in the game up against a creature, well, a little guy named Mini-Polion. And those never got plugged in, it never really worked out, it was just like one too many mechanics, so we removed the races, but this was the race music, and it was, you guys probably can't hear it, but it's a very upbeat song, and it feels like Mario Kart racing type music, and when we decided to, flush the race mechanic, we had to pretty much flush the song until our sound designer decided, like, oh, we have this whole sequence where a creature walks unbelievably slow for, like, an excruciating amount of time. And when he decided that's where the song goes, I lost it. This was the funniest thing to me.
I love Maslow. And to everyone who's asking, why don't you just fight him? That looks incredibly slow. I've actually timed it. Fighting Maslow takes over 5 minutes. He takes just over 2 minutes to walk the path and to talk to him. So I just let him walk. It's a good chance to chill. Okay, this is Dewilly. This is the super scary fight. So I'm going to focus. You can see how many colors the thoughts have. Dewilly has a special mechanic. You guys are all free to take it away. I need to focus on this fight.
Yeah, well, this is a great opportunity to introduce the fact that there's a mechanic in fights that a sergeant hasn't been using much, which is to listen, which you can use every turn and will give you a hint about what the creature's insecurities are like, and that'll help make fights easier for when it comes to choosing dialogue choices. And I think Fidix had something to add too.
Yeah, I had a tale about a bug we had at some point during development. It was a really fun bug for me as a level designer to break the game. So in most RPG and platformer, there's a hidden mechanic which not many people are used to seeing, but when you go off a ledge, you have a couple of frames where you can still jump even though you're not grounded. And we had a problem when rolling and jumping where you could roll in the air and continue jumping to get basically infinite height. And we could get from Dinoland to Temple World just by rolling and jumping. It was really fun to do, but it was so broken we had to fix it, sadly. But I wish we had build which you could use to practice the most
Just
hidden
fly
and broken
across the map,
mechanic
really.
in the game.
Oh, and
You could
Dewilly's thoughts inflict on fire, which is even more damage to us. So yeah, this fight's just really want to emphasize this fight's scary. Sorry, go on.
It's all good. I just never would have realized this would have been the blocker fight until you mentioned it, but now I'm seeing it in this and I'm like, oh god, this is rough.
John, did you have any commentary on Dewilly? I know you had some fun with this.
I did, because the way we designed her was when we were working with Alexis and Virginie to come up with a lot of unique mechanics. We really wanted to push this idea of the listen mechanic a bit, because we thought that was interesting to make something where you encourage that in case you haven't been using it much till now, or to kind of give a different pace to the fight. But it led to essentially them creating a whole mechanic for that little la 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 bubble that shows up every now and again. And it also led to our sound designer Antoine, who created voice sounds, because when her dialogue rolls by, the la 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 will go as her text typing comes out. So that kind of helped serve as a basis for us to use for things like, Bam's timer when he countdowns for his turn, or other text sound effects when people talk. So there's a lot of little ideas that kind of germinated from when we were working on this silly little turtle.
I'm so glad she inspired you.
So you'll notice that she goes back to la la laing there. You have essentially one turn to talk to her and convince her, and get that talk. If you don't get that talk on the first turn, which, by the way, the dialogue choices, again, I'd like to emphasize, are essentially random. And some of the choices they give you are not per se obvious, in my opinion, that is the correct option. You have to do talk, and you essentially double the length of this fight by making one small mistake like that. So, the fact that I've learned to recognize a couple phrases, I like your positivity is a heart phrase for Dewilly. But if you don't know which phrase to throw, you mess up, and Dewilly goes back to la 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 phasing. That's pretty substantial time loss. And something I'd like to point out, during these fights, for the most part, when you mess up, when you lose a fight, you get kicked back out to before the fight even started. So all this time you've been watching me fight Dewilly, if I lose all of my morale and get a get kicked out of the fight, I have to do this entire fight over from the beginning, and the thoughts are completely randomized again. So running out of morale is a very real scare during both Willy and Gonk.
Yeah, 2 nightmares for the price of 1, basically.
But thankfully here, I'm gonna throw Giro for the token draw, the green, the lime, and that's going to end a Willy. And I would say overall, relatively speaking, this was a very acceptable Willy. I'm very happy with this Willy. That fight went very well. It played how I expected it to. Spent a little too long attacking the bottom thought, but you know, that's where the randomness comes in. That was the second to last friend in the run. There is only one more, who, depending on who you ask, could be one of the worst, could be not one of the worst. But I consider what we've just gone through, Gonk and Willy, to be really the hard part of the game, and I'm super happy we've made it through both of them. We're on very good pace. During one of my practice runs for this, we didn't finish the run until 3 hours and 23 minutes. This run is looking significantly better than that.
Nice. So the upcoming creature, it's problematic because of the RNG layers, or because
Yep.
Yeah.
You add one last new mechanic to that fight where they will block colors at random. And if it blocks, there's a couple patterns it can throw where it blocks. If it blocks no colors that we need to throw, that's very scary, because that means that next turn it's going to be blocking one of them almost guaranteed. Not guaranteed, but almost. If it blocks the one we need the least, then it's also scary for essentially the same reason. Also, nice little snowball execution there, hopping on that ledge a little earlier than than was intended, I'm sure.
Yeah, just a bit earlier. We had an issue where you could jump on the pillar, just on the lower side of the platform, and yeah, there's a mirror over there where you could jump, but we just put a big collider that goes into basically infinity.
I did, when I was playing casually and exploring what I could and couldn't find, I did notice quite a few objects where I couldn't hop on it at all, and it was quite funny because I immediately was like, alright, the devs knew that you could just hop on this and skip something, so they put a box here. It's really...
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You don't have to apologize. It's actually really funny in that sense. Oh, okay. You got to me sooner than I thought. Because one of the friends we're not going to see in this category, Trigor, who is quite a ways out of the way. I imagine when you were designing colliders for that, you realized, oh, you could just hop straight up to Trigor. Let's make this have no collision, this have no collision, this have no collision. Unfortunately for you, you left one object with collision that you can jump on and still skip the entirety of Trigor's intended puzzle. So that's a fun little useful tool in the all friends speedrun where you just casually hop straight up to Trigor instead of doing the puzzle still. It's just really funny walking through.
It's so hard to do. I have so much trouble doing it. So when I'm having a hard time doing a skip, I tell myself, well, if I'm having a hard time, maybe speedrunners will figure out routing or setups to do it more efficiently.
Okay, so this is the second to last soft lock. I'm actually gonna let this snowball fully settle here. If you punch that snowball too quickly, you'll actually execute the punch animation while the snowball is still falling. That will cause the snowball to count as punched, even though it was never actually punched, and soft lock the game. So I learned to let that snowball just fall. Because you have to close the application, reopen it, rerun to this room. It's a lot of effort if you do that on accident. But yeah, this is Riki Biki. He blocks 3 colors at random. The colors that we need here are lime, 2 greens, and 2 yellows. The 2 yellows are really important. We only need to hit him with we need to hit him with 3 greens. So the fact he blocked green is actually really good for us because it means that we can focus on throwing the limes and the yellows here. The thoughts in this fight are really minimal, but because there's 2 and because he blocks colors at random, we're still gonna prioritize taking 1 of the thoughts out, but it's not anywhere near as big an issue as it could be in other fights. This guy really feels like a nice reprieve compared to everything we've been through. All right, I need a red and a lime really bad right now, and with that, we'll take that. Cool. So yeah, I'm actually, despite Riki introducing this totally new mechanic, I actually really like this mechanic. And I think this fight is balanced quite well, despite there, again, being 2 thoughts in it and a new mechanic. This is one of my favorite fights in the game because it really makes you think about stuff. As a speedrun, not a huge fan of the fight, but compared to what I just went through again, it's a breeze. You're not gonna die on this fight. It's just maybe I'll lose a turn because bad RNG.
Do we have a moment for a couple donations?
Yeah, I don't mind. Go ahead.
We have a $25 anonymous donation with no comment, but they put the amount towards the level that killed the blobfish incentive, so thank you very much for that. And we have another $10 donation from WDC, which just reads neat, which also goes towards the kill the blobfish incentive. And with those 2 donations, we're actually only $10 away from meeting our incentive to actually go ahead and kill the blobfish. So if you guys want to find out, as do I, what the heck that is, come on guys, $10, and there's still quite a few minutes and hours left until we actually get to that run. And it actually also is the only unmet donation incentive that we have left during this marathon. So come on guys, $10. I think we can make this. But that is not all. We also have some bid wars going on. One is for Lennis Inception, and you can choose the art style of the game. It can either be an 8-bit or 32-bit game. Currently, 8-bit is in the lead by more than $160, so, you know, all you 32-bit guys, you have a lot of work ahead of you. And we also have a bid war going on for We Happy Few, where you can choose which of the 3 DLC categories are actually gonna be run during the marathon. Currently, the Lightbearer DLC is in the lead by $25 compared to We All Fall Down, which in turn is in the lead by another $5 to They Come From Below. Now, personally, I really do like the Lightbearer DLC. I think it is a really fun take on the game, so I'm kinda okay with it staying in the lead. But then again, I've already seen that one, so I'd really like to watch one of the others. And if that is okay with you, you know, donate some money towards that, because after all, we are raising money for charity.
Let's go, guys. Let's get that last $10 in. We've been blowing these incentives away, from what I've been hearing. We're not gonna leave it hanging on one last incentive, right, guys? Come on. Let's do this.
This is actually true, because I think we actually all completed our first round of the nation incentives in the first 3 or 4 hours of this marathon starting. I've just been blowing through it all the way, so we still have more than 12 hours of runs left in this marathon, so we have still, you know, quite a few goodies for you to come, so keep on donating.
Alright. So, this is the boss of the Sanctum of Self. This is Shadow Billy. He is a representation of the... essentially every creature has darkness, and that includes Billy himself. This is the darkness that Billy chose to essentially cast out of himself and refuse to acknowledge that lies within him. And the whole time, Mother Prisma here has been saying, Billy, you need to, Billy, you need to confront this. You need to learn to accept this. And we're finally here. We're finally ready. We've passed the trials. We're ready to do that. And the way this fight works is essentially Shadow Billy has gone and said, so, oops. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna show you why I'm better than you, and he's going to convert our friends one by one. That's the main gimmick of this. So he's converted Giro, who is our best friend, into I don't want to throw any of those. He's converted Giro, our best friend, into this hostile shadow creature, and you'll notice that I'm exclusively attacking Giro. In this fight, Giro is on the middle row and Shadow Billy's on the top and bottom row. If I attack Shadow Billy, I get hurt back in retribution for attacking myself, essentially. So the gimmick of this fight is to take out Giro, which to do optimally, you need to throw 2 primary colors and 1 tertiary color every round, which we successfully did there. And now all we do is we just sit here and essentially throw whatever we want. We don't have to do any damage or anything. We just need to pass 3 rounds, and Shadow Billy will get mad at us and move the fight on to phase 2. Which friend he summons is random. In phase 1, it doesn't really matter, because we don't really care about successfully recoloring him or anything like that. Oh, that was a wrong option? Dang. But yeah, so we're just sitting here while Shadow Billy is getting madder and madder at us, asking why are we refusing to fight him, this and that, recoloring Moslo slowly but surely because he's my favorite. I can't let Moslo sit here uncolored.
You gotta save Moslo.
I gotta try at least.
Shadow Billy was a really fun creature to work on. There was something about taking Billy's design and just altering it into like a little goblin that was just so satisfying.
Yeah, he's a once you learn the mechanic for him, he's pretty fun to fight. Okay, so this is the last point in the run where I could potentially soft lock. If I mash too hard or too quickly, because there's all these animations, it will actually prevent me from being able to continue skipping text boxes. So I'm just gonna casually push the X button to skip through this to get into Shadow Billy 2. Otherwise, we have to do a entire reset. So let's hope that I have control and can push X here. And we'll see. So Shadow Billy's gonna pick 3 of all of my friends at random. We are good. We did not soft lock. We got through the run with no soft locks. We're always gonna use Giro's special here, which is going to make it so that combats are easier, or the battles are easier. Now this is a really big RNG point of the run. Which friends get summoned is completely random. We want certain friends, we do not want certain friends. The reason for that is, well, you can see that these friends we're facing right now have a lot of colors on them, which is not optimal because we're not going to be able to take a single one of them out. Now, that's not per se bad, because the fastest way to do this fight, in order to win, again, we will never be able to attack Shadow Billy, even though we know exactly what his colors are from being able to reveal them. Every time we defeat a friend, Shadow Billy is just gonna summon a new friend. He can summon literally any friend except for the ones that are in my hand at this moment, which could be good, could be bad, depending on who's in my hand. The way we win is by defeating, recoloring 5 of our converted friends back to our side. Now, the fastest way to do that is to knock out 3 friends and then knock out 2 friends. As you can see for what we've been given, that's a bit unrealistic, but it is entirely possible that we'll knock all 3 of these friends out next round and then have an option between 2 of the 3 to get through this as fast as possible. But the RNG is now not just in my hand, it is now in the fight itself. What will happen and what, like what will I draw, what will come up, who am I fighting? There's a lot of things. So right now I need 2 orange tokens. I'll throw that despite needing the heal. or despite getting the heal because I just need it. And now I need 2 green tokens, which it is. I have another green. No, I don't, because Mantador is on the field. Mantador is my other green, so this is an example of I really can't do anything here because my other green is currently on the field, completely unplayable to me. So this is one of the worst cases of what can happen with RNG. But I mean, yeah, essentially that's how this fight is going to go. I've explained the entirety of the gist. Did I miss any mechanics that you guys think are definitely worth pointing out, or would you like to just talk about Shadow Billy as a fight in general? Now's a great time because we got a couple minutes of this fight left.
Yeah, I'd like to hear the take on John on what pushed the design of the first part of the fight to be you have not hit Shadow Billy at all. Because I think it's interesting of a decision like in such a fight, a big place in the game since it's the third boss fight before the last boss. So yeah, what's your take, man?
One of the big things that inspired that idea was when we were talking with Alexi and some of the counselors we had that helped us with a lot of the writing on the game. Was just this idea that, like, in this game where it's about showing compassion to people and kind of giving back their true colors, it's this idea that, like, hey, no matter how hard you work on yourself, no matter how, like, much you like accept yourself, you can't like erase things about yourself that you don't like, or you can't like erase these problematic things. So we really wanted to force this idea like, hey, you can't recolor the part of you that's, you know, problematic. You just have to learn to accept what it is and like what it brings to yourself to the table. So the idea of not attacking came from that, kind of building the fight around there. And then for the second phase, kind of like recoloring your friends and having them give you validation the same way you gave them validation to recolor them, just felt like the perfect way to bookend that. And plus the music in the fight, I think Shadow Billy is my favorite moment in the game. And one thing I really persisted hard to do, even though it was a little bit difficult with our dialogue system, was to make sure that every friend that you can recolor gives you a different message of like, hey, here's why we love you, Billy. And I just thought that was I really like that little Easter egg. No one's going to redo this fight enough to see all 61 messages, I think,
No.
but it's there for those who are curious.
Absolutely not. Despite the amount of times I've done runs of this game, I'm fairly confident I've seen less than half of the total messages, probably even out of the mandatory 31 friends that you collect in any percent. I think it's 31 you are mandatory to collect, and then the other 31 are optional. Something like that.
Yeah. Alexi and me are both strong proponents of like games having elements that like are very unique to like one playthrough or one player. That like, oh, it's super rare that you might find this, but it's such a like a little meaningful moment because you're the player who managed to bump into that. So that was just one thing that I always think is really cool.
Yep. I'd like to
It
point.
is a game about friendship, so you want the friends to feel more real, right?
It's literally all about the friends we met along the way.
There you go.
The true treasure.
So during that fight, we got both Deedledee and Agans, who are the two best friends to get because they both take one or two friends to knock out, which is incredibly valuable. You'll notice that Mantador stayed on the field the whole time, being green, and then the friend that got summoned was green. So I was sitting here like, what am I gonna do about all these greens I need? And it worked out getting the two best possible options for that fight. That really brought that fight back from what could have been a potential disaster. But yeah, with that, we are heading into the very final end game. This is a nice point of no return. I really like that you guys give this warning of, hey, it's a point of no return, and then still give the player control in case they change their mind and go, you know what, actually, hold on a sec. I mean, I don't think it's actually a point of no return. I've never tried to go backwards, but I do like that you guys make that very obvious that, hey, when we commit to this, there might not be a coming back. That's a very, very good game design, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's also to let the player be able to say, hey, I don't think my creatures are up to the task, so I'm gonna just search for more items and maybe search for more creatures too before heading to the last sequence.
All right. So we are back at Star Harbor, back at the place where it all started. All of our friends are here to join us. You can't really see them because I skipped the cutscene, but they're all here. Dragulon is infuriated, and Dragulon. I'm gonna call him Dragulon a few times. Feel free to say Leviathan. So this is the last skip in the run. There is a Ferris wheel here. Whoever on your dev team designed this Ferris wheel is evil.
It was probably a group effort.
Evil.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've all just been insisting for way too long, like,
So-
hey, the Ferris wheel needs to move, right?
I'm gonna show you a skip if I can get it, and I'm just going to get on this object, do Billy's triple jump, which we've not really talked about the triple jump mechanic in this game. Billy's third jump is higher, and if I do this correctly, I think I need to be further to the edge. You can actually make it all the way over to this, and I'm going to commit to this because that Ferris wheel is a travesty, even though this is by far not great anymore. Come on, game!
Okay, I want to see you succeed. I believe in you.
I also
Yeah.
want to see me succeed. Normally,
Let's go, Sarge.
normally it does not behave this badly, but you know, video games. Marathon, there we go, we got it.
There it is.
Probably didn't save any time overdoing the Ferris wheel as intended, but trust me, that Ferris wheel is a travesty.
At the very least, you've proven your point, and that was cool.
And we're gonna fly into phase 1 of the final boss. So this boss fight is pretty intense. I believe I finally figured out how the special effect works for this fight. So Dragulon, I did it again. Leviathan is going to essentially borrow the same mechanic of Dragulon. He's going to consist of the 5 colors of from the lava world. That was unfortunate. I got the wrong option there at the start. And the whole time we're going to be attacked by these hands here. So the different hand colors correspond to different oh, I just accidentally threw whatever, it's fine. Different hand colors correspond to different effects. Green is the fog effect, which we didn't really talk about, but for the sake of the speedrun, it's pretty irrelevant. Blue is the ice effect, and we'll see red later. Red is going to be the on fire effect. So essentially, we need to approach this fight similar to how we approached Dragulon's fight. We are going to the hands are priority in this fight because the status effects they continually afflict are annoying, but they also do damage similar to a thought. Plus Dragulon does damage. And on top of that, this is the mechanic that I, for the longest time, could not understand, so please explain this if I'm wrong. I think I finally figured out there is a special ability that can be unlocked in this fight from Dragulon, and unlocking that, for the longest time, I had no idea how it worked. I believe it is based on the amount of color damage you do during this fight. At a certain threshold, you get Dragulon's special available to you. Is that correct? Is that essentially how that works?
To be completely honest, I think we used to have a bug with that mechanic, and I am not sure how we ended up fixing it.
Okay, because
I just know it can trigger, but I'm not sure if it's specifically to like one specific dialogue option, or if it's related to a certain amount of morale that you have in the turn. There's something like that. I can't quite recall.
I do know that some fights, I just do not get the special ability to spawn, which is very scary because that makes this fight drag on pun just a little scarily long. because you only get, I think, 1 health refill this fight from Dragulon if you mess up. So it's really important that I try to take these hands out. If it's not based on the amount of colors, then it must be based on... My other idea is it's based on doing enough damage to the hands or something, but I've been able to use the special ability with hands up, so that's why I've guessed that it has to be with how many colors, because all 3 Dragulon phases seem to have a rough basis on how much how much recoloring are you successfully doing to the Leviathan.
So I have insider information about your question. So basically, you had it pretty much on the nose. It's pretty random, and there's some influence of the colors.
So you'll notice
And
we actually
there's-
didn't get it there, despite how much damage we did. This is very scary now. Sorry, I'm a little intimidated by that not popping, despite me really wanting it to. Sorry, you can keep going. I just wanted to point out that didn't happen, and now I'm terrified.
Yeah, and I want to add that the hands don't matter in the equation. There's no influence about of that. Yeah.
Okay, so it's strictly the amount you do to Dragulon, or I did it again, to Leviathan that is influenced this equation. That is good to know. That makes me know that I need to prioritize him if I want that special. But nonetheless, taking out both hands is still very good. Okay. Now, the downside is when both hands are taken out, Leviathan is going to summon a fresh set of hands, and he can summon 1 or 2. That's unfortunate. He can summon 1 or 2, so we're hoping he only summons 1, which I should be able to kill or recolor him successfully, but it's all RNG. I am in a good spot though because my morale has not been fully consumed. He summoned 2. Oh, that's not good. Okay, but I think we have fine colors. Red, get the token flip. Now just hope for that orange, because we did not get Dragulon's special at all, which was one of the worst things I was fearing. But despite never getting Dragulon's special during phase 1, this fight did go very well, relatively speaking to the cards we were dealt, both literally and figuratively. Okay, I would say that's the last really potentially intimidating fight. This next one's not too bad. There is a strategy for it, but did you guys have any specific concepts or design philosophy in mind when you were designing these fights? He's staggered in 3 phases. There's a lot of interesting things going on here. Obviously, the 3rd phase is pretty unique, but what was the thought process, if you don't mind me asking, behind designing the final boss here?
So I can butt in to say that the last sequence of the whole Leviathan arc was not rushed so much, but it came basically in the last minute, and we had put a lot of time in a short time period to make it work, and Alexi did a lot of work on that part. So we wanted to encapsulate the whole a review of all the mechanics that happen in the game. So in the first one you'll have a reminder of Dragon, now you have Calypso and there's Leviathan using both of their mechanics basically. And the last part, which the viewers will see, is kind of a wow moment. We just wanted to encapsulate a resume of all the mechanic and the adventure the player had, but usually not in 3 hours, but
Obviously, there's also kind of the sort of narrative
feeling of you're bringing all your friends along, and you've made friends of even the bosses you've encountered along the way, who are now here to support you. So it's got that like cute little message on a more emotional touch.
I don't know if a child would really understand this, but when I was thinking about the lore and reading into it, and at least in my mind, who the Leviathan is meant to represent as a figure in Billy's life, it might be a bit on the nose, but I really liked how you displayed that, and during the ending credits with all the pictures, it really hit like that sense of understanding. I think he's a very well designed character. And I think you did get that point quite across. I don't know what level of maturity you need to, approach that subject matter in that way, but I enjoy the readings that I was able to get away from it. And I don't want to say too much explicitly because that's a bit spoilerish.
Yeah,
It is,
no
yeah.
worries. But thanks a lot for saying that, first of all, and second of all, that was perhaps one of the biggest challenges for this, because this was by far the character and the fight sequence that we needed the most help writing, because again, without going into spoiler territory, we're essentially writing like, hey, how do you talk to an abuser as a non-binary character, as a child, make it child-friendly, not have any words that can be potentially triggering, and make it digestible and still fun to play through, and account for like randomness of the dialogues that pop up. It gets to be a lot of variables really fast, and it took a lot of time to just get that right. And again, the advantage of having 3 phases was it gave us a lot more flexibility to make that process feel like gradual, depending on how many players would, how many dialogues players would trigger, or the order they'd do things in, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's also a big goal was to not make it too much preachy. So we wanted to keep the game fun. A big axis of the game is the fun and the mechanics, and we wanted to have the narration support that in many ways.
Speaking of mechanics, the way this fight works, since we haven't touched on it, is Leviathan is continually flipping between 2 phases here. He's flipping between the yellow color core and the blue color core. And the main goal here is to do what we did, which is to take out as every hand on the, essentially the first turn, because we can't physically access the Leviathan, focus on the hands. The second turn, wipe out all of the hands if possible. And on the third turn, which we're on now when he's in blue phase, throw all of the blue coloration that we possibly can on him with proper colors and throwing. And you saw me use Calypso's special there, which is jazz. I hope chat likes jazz. We can get 2 free colors on the Leviathan. Then what we throw will give us more colors, and I accidentally threw 2 Azure. I see that now, but it's my bad. So next round, between her special, which should be back up for the next phase, and my colors, I should be able to wipe Leviathan 2 out, recolor him fully on turn 5, and because I chose the wrong option again, but I'm not concerned about dying here, because she is just going to give me all of my HP back. Because he only summoned 1 hand, we're actually in a really good spot now. We're only going to take 1 hand's worth of damage, which is really good for us. I don't really care if he sets someone on fire. I have an entire full heal on the bank. I believe if you die twice, you die for real. Or if you run out of morale twice, you run out of morale for real. But you definitely get at least one refill here. But yeah, so if this works out, it should flip He might summon a hand. That's honestly okay. We're just gonna finish him off with the greens, the blues, and the violets that we need here. Hopefully we get a green. Okay, cool. So now we just need a green and a violet and we win. And would you look at that? We have one of the best greens. We have one of the best violets. And we can throw whatever. And with that, we are moving out of Leviathan 2 once this is successful. I really like these circle mini games because it's just memorizing button inputs, and you can do them pretty much as quickly as they display. I would say circle is probably my favorite mini game. All right, moving on. Leviathan 3. We are out of the final battle that is at all concerning. We are in the official endgame. Let's go. I love this fight. The fight's great, and I want everyone to get your cat jams and sour pleases ready because this song is really well done when it comes up. You'll know when it comes up. But I mean, yeah. Anything you'd like to add to this upcoming fight? There was probably a lot of ideas going around on it.
I didn't know you could do that, actually.
Just, yeah, the hitbox just extends a little far down. You just jump up and you can grab it.
I don't have much to say other than I love this fight too, and I hope people in the chat will be excited by it as well.
So something you guys might not know, with the minimum amount of friends collected, the way the ending works, one friend always is impossible to throw out as a token. So one friend at random is essentially going to be defriended by Billy, is the joke. So if you'd like to take an idea at who it'll be, it's completely random. It's just a nice little running joke here. So Dragulont is literally 3 of every color in the game. And what we're going to do is we have to do a certain threshold of damage to him to activate this next phase. All we need to do is throw literally every friend out on whatever the default color is and win their minigames to do as much damage as possible. And that's going to do enough color damage to Dragulont to trigger Leviathan. It's been a long day already.
You got this.
The final special phase, which is required to beat the game. I see a lot of cat jams a little bit early. Don't worry. It's fine to cat jam to this too. This one's also a banger. So here he taunts us, takes the colors away and says, Billy, no matter how special you are, no matter how much you try, you can never recolor me. And I fuse with my inner self. We truly become one. We get 999 moves. We start throwing every friend out. With the power of friendship, we are going to complete this game, beat Dragulont, and RIP Frodagoro, you are no longer Billy's friend. I am sorry.
F's in the chat for forward.
And I believe that this the second pet the dog incentive was met, so we will be doing that for you all.
It was indeed met, yes.
Time is coming up when Billy jumps in the final cutscene. I will let you know. In the meantime, we have this nice dramatic walk to the end.
Taking a look at all the friends you made along the way.
All the friends we made along the way, except Frogero. He's not here.
No, he's not here. Some sacrifices
and we saw
were made.
Sergeant too.
Yeah.
Right? We saw Sergeant.
Sure did.
Speaking of Sergeant, do you know who's a good boy? Do you know who's a good
boy?
I have a hunch.
Sergeant's a good boy. Good boy, Sarge. Alright, so there is actually speed tech to this. It's walking in a straight line, but we pet the dog. For chat, for charity, we pet the dog.
Yeah.
There you go.
Alright, one last cutscene, some dialogue.
Things are slowly recoloring.
Get ready on time, it's coming up here. the world of imagination, and time is now. GG,
Wow.
everyone. Thank you
Lovely.
so much.
And he's done it.
Thank you so much for taking 3 hours out of your day for most of you to be here. I super appreciate having you guys here, all the insight. I hope you enjoyed the run. That was a long one. Started pretty early, and I mean, yeah, that's been Rainbow Billy. You can find me at twitch.tv/SargentSilent, SRGTSILENT. Probably not going to be playing this game again till the next patch comes out. I want a break from this. But, I mean, yeah, Mana Void, you guys, please, go ahead, plug whatever you guys would like to.
I do want to start by saying, Sarge, that you were fantastic to watch. This was so much fun. You're a very talkative speedrunner, which I wasn't expecting, but you have a lot of really, really insightful comments. I really liked watching you go.
No, we were not expecting to stay the full 3 hours, but I was just having a great time. This was super fun to do, and thanks a lot for letting us join too. I'm glad we were able to pitch in, and thank you everyone in chat for supporting Sarge to the end and for checking out our game. And fun fact, I think this might be in the Ahmad might put this in the chat too, but on the 19th of January, Rainbow Billy will be 50% off on all platforms. That's Switch, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. So if you're at all curious to check out the game for yourself, I strongly recommend you go take a look.
Yeah, the game's on sale everywhere. Just wait till Wednesday, and it lasts about a month, so don't forget to check it out around that time.
Is it on both
There's
Epic and Steam? Do you know?
I don't know if it's on Epic.
I don't think it was
it's
on Epic.
Okay. I know it's on Steam, to clarify, for PC at a minimum. Sorry, did not mean to cut you off, brother.
Yes, there's also a lot of content people did not see in the stream.
Oh, yes.
There's many creatures, there's many puzzles. If people would like to discover them on their own, or maybe even run the game, there's community for that. And
Yep.
I'm sure there's a lot of information about that, so people can learn to run it or just get to know every creature in the game.
And these credits have a lot more meaning if you actually play through the game casually. So yeah, trust me, it's worth sitting through. One last thing I'd like to say quickly is I would like to show everyone my favorite character in the game. This is a great trash can. I feel like trash. But I want to leave you all with one final insightful message. Anything can be garbage if you believe in yourself.
Absolutely.
Yes, it can.
Thank you, everyone.
This is very much the Mana Void energy we were trying to put.
Thank you, everyone, for having me. Thank you, devs, again. Please check out Rainbow Billy. I highly recommend it. And take care, everyone. Thanks again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Have a great Indiethon, everyone.
Have a great Indiethon. Enjoy yourself.
Alright, thank you so much once again to Sergeant Silent and some of the actual developers of this wonderful game, Rainbow Billy and the Curse of the Leviathan. Since this is a bit...
Hi.
Oh. Hello.
Yeah, we're out, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what he did. Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks so much again, guys, and I'll let you get back to your day. I know it's end of the weekend, so yeah, thanks again. And
Yeah.
I'll be in the Rainbow Billy Discord, so if you guys need anything or have any questions, feel free to hit me up there or contact me. And let's get out of here so the marathon can keep on moving, guys.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Have a nice one.
Thanks, you too.
Nice one. Take care.
Thanks again.
Thanks again, everyone. It was great.
Alright, take care, guys. Good luck. Have fun.
Bye.
Bye.